Okay, so I won't worry about it. I'm going to keep my on for
What's
now.
up with the stack of $100 bills?
Yeah, that was actually a gift that
Oh, it's great.
one colleague sent to another. Like, this is an interesting gift that he just sent out today for Christmas gifts.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
I love it.
This is, I think it's actually used for when you're changing your shoes and you just sit on it or something like that.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Makes sense.
It's
A little
actually
little
interesting.
seat.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So like, how's your guys like trip to China? Like,
Oh, it's been great. It's been really
It's
interesting.
been really amazing.
how did it start? Like, were you just chatting with like friends on
Wait,
Twitter?
are we interviewing now or are you just talking?
I would just talk and then like.
Is it filming right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, we kept the film on, so like in like
okay.
all time, like
Am I in this or are you just talking to
I
him?
think you're off camera.
off camera.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
off camera.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
okay. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Um,
Okay.
But we could just chat,
But
like
we want, okay, both of us. I was like, I don't know if I should respond,
Yeah.
sure, of course.
but okay.
Like we just have a free chat. That would be great.
Okay,
Yeah,
good. I understand what's going on.
Yeah, just like in doing this, I didn't realize how much of crypto was obviously like in China, and like a lot of the people who are investing in our thing and like, you know, doing the whole thing are Chinese, and I was like, and also like South Korean and a lot of Japanese people as well. And I just wanted to like get to know who are the people who are actually into this. Like, this is clearly a thing that's happening all over. And I have some friends who are Chinese but live in San Francisco and are very into like all the crypto stuff. And I was like, I really want to learn about this. You know, I really want to go meet all these people. And so yeah, it's kind of, you know, I feel like sometimes, especially in America, we can be very American centric, especially in crypto and our messaging and just the whole thing. And I really wanted like, I want to get all of our docs translated. You know, we did like international translations of all the README, but I want like all of our docs. I want people, you know, I want people in outside of America using this for the kind of their own communities and stuff. So I felt like, you know, yeah.
So like it wasn't. You didn't realize there's like a whole different world out there.
Well, I mean, I knew there was a world out there, but I didn't really like. I'm relatively new to like crypto Twitter and the thing that's happening. So I wasn't. I just like. I had a sense of that, but I didn't really like fully understand the whole thing. You know, I my experience with crypto is like working on in Ethereum and just like on NFTs in the back end, and not really like exposed to the culture of it. Just more like technically building the stuff. And working with like in the NFT time, I was working with like a lot of brands, and they're not thinking about international markets at all. They're
Back in like 2000,
like 2022. Yeah. So I'm relatively new to this like thing, you know, like I was doing NFTs in 2021 and 2022.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And like it started. What made you decided you wanted to come here, like physically?
I think it's really important that this be like an international thing, and I really think that what we're doing is like a movement. It's like you know, it's no VCs. There's no like I didn't get a team allocation. There's no white paper even. It was just very organic. And just seeing like, oh, we have partners everywhere. And Mihawk, who was there yesterday, he's like I was like, hey, we clearly have this Chinese community that's interested and is having a hard time like understanding what we're doing. So I asked if anybody wants to kind of help us to build a channel and like moderate that and help communicate the stuff. We started adding like translation into our Discord and stuff. And just trying to like, how do I bridge these gaps? Because I feel like God, there's so many talented people here. There's such a great scene here. But how would I, as like an English speaker only, like really like come in and reach this market and stuff? Because you guys all speak English, but I don't speak Mandarin. Yeah, I would love to learn though. That might be on the list.
Right. So
yeah.
you booked the flight ticket yourself, or like?
Well, what happened? I was just like, hey, I want to come these dates. And a lot of people reached out, like a lot, and a lot of people like Tina obviously was like, oh, I would love to help you like meet all these people, connect me with a lot of people. And then like Charlene and the 706 crew, I don't know if you know 706. I just learned about all this.
Yes.
We're like, yeah, let's set up meetings and like let's you know, meetups and like let's do this thing. And so I was like, yeah, I definitely gotta like come out and do this.
There's a lot of help.
Yeah, a lot of help. Yeah, but really grassroots, like just people from the community wanting to help and wanting to meet, and I just felt like especially as we get into this really AI kind of world
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's like super on their phones, just like meeting people in real life matters so much.
Yeah. And she was I forgot. I'm so sorry. I
Jill.
forgot you.
Oh, yes, I'm
Jill.
Jill. Yeah, no
Right.
worries.
Yeah. And like you were telling me, you booked the ticket. You wanted to
Oh.
like probably hop on and say hello and sit back.
Yeah. Should I move in here?
Oh yeah, sure. This. Like this.
Here
That's
we
kind of
are.
fun. We just do it.
Yeah, that'll be. This is fun.
Got my wife in there.
Yay.
Here. There you go. I think in camera. You guys wanted to come a little bit.
Yeah,
closer?
totally.
Yay.
Oh yeah, there.
My mom will be so happy.
There you
So
go.
fun.
There you go. I think
Um,
yeah, we can see it now.
Okay, cool.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
So, like, you booked the ticket.
Yeah.
For the whole, and you planned the whole thing. Like,
Well, we had-
where do you
I
wanted
went-
to stay?
I pretty much booked the whole thing. I mean, I had your help. We had some help with other people on the team, but mostly it was just, Shaw told me that like, okay, like, we want to go for like XY reasons. I'm like, yeah, I want to meet the people. I want to understand like these different cultures and like bridge that gap. And yeah, it's not that hard.
A lot
The
of
visa
people
was
here
a little
helped.
hard, but like
Oh.
not as hard as I thought.
Right.
So she helped a lot with the logistics, and also the people here helped a lot too to
Yes.
plan the events and kind of make sure that it's happening.
And you guys came to Shanghai first,
Yes.
Yeah,
and then like I think the 706 group is in Shanghai or
yeah, they're actually international. They have a bunch of different
Okay.
kind of outposts.
yeah.
But yeah, it seems like there in Shanghai. We also did a hackathon.
In Shanghai.
Well, I wasn't there,
Oh.
but they hosted this at the 706 Hack House, and
Yeah.
and so there were a lot of people showing up to that, and I judged it. I got to meet a lot of them. I was like, oh, I really want to go meet all these people.
They're probably I think they're the biggest like digital nomad group
Yeah.
or like communities in China. So
Yeah.
like, they kind of like organize all kinds of like meetups, and it's actually like I think the whole like offline in-person meetups was actually in Chinese community was actually started by 706 like back in I think 2022 like 2022 something like that, and in Dali. Have you guys been to Yunnan before?
Been to where?
Yunnan,
No.
like this the southest place.
This is the
China.
first time. The first time we've been in
Oh.
China was like 3 days ago.
Yeah, we landed in
Flew
Shanghai.
Right.
So
You guys should go there. You guys that I think that was like the most beautiful place.
yeah.
Like in China, like really like chill. Like they have kind of like have like this California vibe, but like
Oh, interesting.
really beautiful place. Yeah. This is a whole different story I could tell later. And yeah. So I heard about the spa thing, like the hot spring spa that you guys did. Why did you
Oh.
like decided to go to? That was kind of a very local thing, though. Very local.
I
Yeah,
think-
it was like a last minute sort of.
Yeah, we had no idea what we were in for.
Yeah, he called me and he was like, "We're going to a bathhouse," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I had like just taken a bath that day, so I was like, "Well, whatever." And then I went, and then it's like, this is not a bathhouse. This is a totally different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had like like people coming over for business, and we were all like sitting in pajamas, like eating food. And I was like, this is like, I thought it was really fun. I thought it was really fun.
I think the people who were kind of hosting and organizing were like, hey, we should go do something very Chinese culturally that you're not going to see in America. Like, there's nothing like that I've seen in America.
Very true.
Right.
Which I'm grateful for,
It was
because I
a
want
great
to learn.
experience.
Oh.
Yeah, that was super fun actually.
Yeah, but I did not expect you guys to do that in the southern part of China. It was actually a northern part of thing, I think.
Got it.
Like yeah, because like it's a lot colder and people just want to get to a warmer place.
Yeah, it makes a lot of
Chat.
sense. Totally.
Oh, that was interesting. And how long have you guys been in Beijing? Like just
Came in yesterday?
Yeah, yesterday.
We came on the
Yesterday.
bullet train.
oh, so you
It's the
came
first time on the bullet train.
yesterday, and then we just right after
Yeah.
we
that
got
had
to our
the
hotel
dinner.
and we went to dinner.
Yeah, that was our first meal.
Oh,
in
so
Beijing.
today is like the first day you guys had the time to travel.
Yeah, so we actually got to go to the palace and walk around there. It was really cool.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And also like actually this is a very and our founder was trying to tell you this. This is and I also thought about this like beforehand. Like this is a very interesting. I don't know how to say this, but this is kind of like a superstitious thing. But, like it was very interesting. There's actually most of the successful, like very successful crypto. I don't want to say firms or crypto teams projects. They actually have a very good relationship. Actually, have very origin story with Chinese community.
Oh, interesting.
Like with Ethereum. Like
going
you
back
probably
to Vitalik,
heard this, going
yeah.
way back to Vitalik, and he came to China first, and then like a lot of like Chinese investor helped him, and then like he was trying to tell you that the Solana founder, like Anatoly, like right before the bull market, like he came to our office and also had a little chat, and then become really big next year, and then like now you came here, like. So we probably have a good hunch that next year might be a really good year.
A little luck,
really
yeah,
good
yeah.
year for AI16Z, really good for crypto.
Yeah.
So that was kind of like a real interesting thing. So I always thought like this is probably like a good mark that just tells you that here's a lot of things, exciting things might start from here, because like promising projects come to the Chinese community and just meet with the developers and the community, and then like the next year just things really take off, and it's kind of like an interesting signal.
I think maybe there's something to like the kind of people who are going to go and do that, or the kind of people who want to go and meet the people who are actually building it, or actually like part of their community and all over the world. And so it's like, on the one hand, it's, good to go meet people and kind of build that yourself. But on the other hand, it's like the kind of person who Vitalik would want to go meet everybody, would want to like be there with people, like that's so central to his whole thing. And I definitely relate to that a lot, like, and look, like, America is very powerful, but very small, in terms of population. And China is very powerful and very big. And we are the two superpowers. And there's obviously some like conflict on the government level, but but as people, we're like, we're the same, we are, we're really in this together.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, like you have some experience like developing an Ethereum ecosystem.
Yeah.
So like you were building. Could you also like share a little bit more about your experience in Ethereum community and all that?
Yeah, I mean, mostly I came to it because I was very interested in. I was a game developer, and I got really interested in like interoperable assets and avatars and how we could trade items through games, and basically like what became metaverse. And so I got really, NFTs were obviously something that I was very interested in. I did, and I built a lot of NFT projects, but kind of as like an unknown just developer, like helping other people. And I worked a lot with like brands and people who probably weren't like, the best at the like culture side of it, but were like looking for people to kind of help shepherd them. And so I did a lot of like just sort of NFT projects. And kind of learned Solidity that way and stuff, and that was really, but I was really passionate about agents, and like how can we sort of combine these two things, so the sort of off-chain AI stuff that's sort of happening, and then giving them avatars, which and an identity and a wallet, and that's how I really got into this.
This is before 2024, like before ChatGPT, or like
before ChatGPT for sure.
Oh wow.
Because there was GPT-1 or GPT, and we were like, it's not very good, and it was a very small model. And then GPT-2, and we're like, oh okay, almost, but it still wasn't very good. But then GPT-3 came out, we're just like, oh god, oh wow, this is going to change everything, and clearly this is going to be a trend. And so when the GPT-3 beta came out, I was able to get access to that. And had a little community around that, and that really like set in motion everything I'm doing since then. And then ChatGPT comes out with GPT-4, and that was like, oh wow, it can rhyme, it can reason, it can do all this stuff. It's got a much longer context window, and so we've been kind of working on it since then. Also, GPT-3 was a lot more expensive, and we just were like, this is clearly a trend where it's going to get cheaper and cheaper. And I wanted to be early to it.
Right. So the timeline is you were building an Ethereum community, and then like also at the same time, when was that? Like you started
at the middle of like 2021, I'm really bad at time. It was about when the GPT-3 like beta craze kind of started, and I think it was released at the end. I don't quote me on that. I'm really bad with memory and timing, but I was really getting into agents around the end of 2021 was when it seemed very viable. And then and I was also like kind of making a living both working in like making agentic stuff and avatars and like 3D characters that you could kind of interact with, as well as doing a lot of the NFT stuff.
Right. Oh yeah. So that makes sense.
They didn't touch, but they were like right next to each other.
Because like I think at the end of like the second half of the bull market, 2021. That was like when the NFT things are taking off.
Yeah.
Like you were focusing on that, and also like that was quite a very early stage of like agents. Like not many people are talking about agents, and you were thinking about agent with crypto, or like just like, not.
So there was a company called Webiverse, and had a very successful launch, NFT land sale. And I joined after their land sale, which was pretty good. And I was the lead dev on that for a while, especially working on characters and like a character creator and all this stuff. And that was pure like AI metaverse. Like we want agents walking around the world, in this 3D world. And then, long story short, got hacked. The whole treasury went away, into some wallet of some hacker, and it kind of created a lot of pressure. And Webiverse actually pivoted into what is now MoeMate, which is like an AI character project that's now got in the meme coin space as well. And then I kind of, but that was like, we were very much like doing AI agents in 3D worlds. And then I kind of from there, I worked on pure like a platform called Magic ML. There's another project called Project 89. I don't know if you've heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
Parzival. And we were co-founders, actually. And we started this project called Magic together, which is another open source project for agents. But the idea was we were making like a no-code agent builder. And I thought that was cool, but the feedback I was getting from the community was like, well, I don't know how to build the agents. Can you know? So I was like, well...
the interface is a little bit like mysterious.
Yeah. And so with that, I think what we... I left kind of on good terms, but with the understanding, like I really wanted to build Eliza. Like I called it Eliza, and I was like, I'm gonna build Eliza. And I'd actually started building Eliza in Magic as this kind of example of like just the best possible agent we could build with it. But I started to get very frustrated by how slow the like no code building was versus just writing code. And so I left that and started working on Eliza. Did not really find a lot of traction early on. And so I was sort of doing a lot of other things to make ends meet while I just kept on working on the open source part of this.
With the guitar and is that when
no, that was way earlier.
Oh, okay.
I was I was a musician in my 20s, and I was a touring musician. But this is not that long ago. This is like 2 years ago now.
This is when we met and then we started working together.
Oh yeah, I was just about to ask, like, that is that when like you guys met?
I met you when you were doing Magic.
Yeah.
Right. And then afterwards you started focusing on Eliza, and then there was just like a series of different projects. But
mostly just like taking things to make ends meet while I kept working on the agent stuff, which is all open source, And I was building the agent in Python. I built a lot of like, could the agent write its own code? Could it could it do social media? Could it kind of autonomously do stuff, or like have access to the whole computer in the shell? I did a lot of experiments with that. But then I kind of realized that agents are really a web technology. So I rebuilt the whole thing in TypeScript, and it was called Begent because agent was taken on NPM.
Yeah.
And then I renamed that back to Eliza at some point, and that's kind of what became everything. And so when the meme coin thing started, I just had all the tech ready to go, and when Truth Terminal did that whole thing, I'd actually launched an Eliza agent, but didn't really get traction. It wasn't until I met Skelly and we did this whole DegenSpartan thing, and then people were like, "You're faking it," and then I was like, "No, the code's right here," and they're like, "Oh, I can use that," and then that obviously kind of started this whole
And I really recommend people, like, if they haven't seen the Bankless podcast, like you tell the whole story, like how AI 16D started. And it was very interesting story. And I also curious, like, why the name like Eliza? What's the name behind it? What's the reason behind this?
There's such a reason. So in 1966, there's a guy named Joseph Weizenbaum, and he released this the first chatbot. And it was a script that you could type in, like, "I'm feeling sad," and be like, "Well, why are you feeling sad?" "Because of this." "Well, why? Is that?" And it was like a Rogerian psychologist thing. And he called it Eliza. And Eliza was named after a character in a in a play called Pygmalion by George Bernard Shaw. And the story of Pygmalion is this, like, kind of like street woman who's like very smart and attractive, but she has like a very dirty mouth, and she's like very kind of low class. And this guy's like, "Oh, I'm gonna like make her this like proper lady." And Joseph Weizenbaum was thinking, like, there's kind of this silly joke of like, making the AI into like a proper human, you know, like actually able to converse with you. And then that character, Pygmalion, became My Fair Lady, which is a pretty famous movie, you know, from before that time. And there's this thing called the Eliza effect, which was that people who were talking to this Eliza chatbot would tend to think like, oh, there's definitely some guy like typing in the background or something. Like it was hard for people, like they started to really think that there was more to it than there was. And so the Eliza effect is this tendency to project humanity onto like computers. And I think that was just very indicative of everything going on. Inside of the agent community, there are different kinds of agents, and some people call these kinds of agents Elizas, which is that they have like a character and a personality, and they kind of they're very, very human. Like the human agents, we would call Elizas, and so I felt like that was the right name for it.
Oh,
You know? Yeah.
didn't know there's such a history.
Yeah.
back into this.
So is the character in My Fair Lady, is her name Eliza?
Eliza Doolittle.
Okay, got it. I
Yeah.
think that you told the story, but I didn't make
Yeah,
that connection until now. Her name is
Yeah.
Eliza.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Eliza's also just a very pretty name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like very familiar for some reason. I don't know, like it just connects to, I don't know why. Like I forgot the name of the lead role, like in Westworld. It's also like
Oh, Dolores.
No.
oh okay. I thought it was like Elizabeth or something, like
Yeah.
very
It's
close
good
to
that you
AI or something.
I do know.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite shows.
Oh really?
Oh, I love that show. And
Any
it's-
other AI shows you like?
Oh. Her.
I mean, I love
He
her. It's
loves
not a
the
show,
movie
but that's
Her.
a great movie. That's a great
Yeah,
movie,
that's a great
obviously.
movie.
I love any AI thing that kind of shows the positive spin and not just the scary, like,
Yeah.
we're all gonna die thing, the Terminator thing. I really like the more interesting and complex ones.
Oh,
I also-
like, Her is like the perfect direction that you wanted to go.
Absolutely.
It's so philosophical too.
What I love about her is that it's showing how an AI could help him to be more human and to find his humanity and like kind of reclaim some of that. And it's a movie where there's almost no technology in it. There's not really any sci-fi. It's just like he's kind of got this thing in his ear, and it's about his experience. So yeah, I really love that one.
Yeah, it kind of like really help you to like go deeper into like find out who you are, like what you want, things like
Yeah.
that.
I think a lot about how technology can make us more human if we do it right.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think you're definitely the kind of like developer or founder that really goes way deeper into philosophical thinking.
Mhm.
And like yesterday when we're having dinner, you kind of like it really thought some scenarios in the future, like what AI might make this world like super different. And you also talked a lot about what's going to happen in the Bankless podcast as well. Really love that again. And I think a lot of people do understand like probably in 5 to 6 years span, like we're all going to lose our job. And then like what would you be doing and all that. It's kind of like and people might afraid that they lost meaning in life and all sorts of things that you probably had a lot of thinking into this.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, this is really more about like a spiritual mission and finding my own spirituality. And I think a lot of people, are coming to crypto for financial freedom. And what happens when you're financially free? Like, what do you do next? And you could just go get a yacht and you could like do that thing. But for me, it's much more about really answering like, why am I here? What is my purpose? What could I really, what service can I do for others? I think is really important. And I really want to make sure that I think the thing coming up is going to be very uncertain, and a lot of people are going to be very scared. And I think that I would love to try to make an impact on saying we don't have to be scared. We can really take control of this ourselves, and we can fight fear with self-empowerment and like all the Web3 kind of ideals of no one's going to come save us. We have to save ourselves. We have to build the world we want to live in. And I think that for a lot of people who aren't sure what their purpose is, there's something in there like you can just do stuff. You can just do it, you can just build things that you think are important. And how can we use crypto to unlock more people and free them, and so that they can really pursue the things that matter. And I love work, but I love working hard. I really believe that working hard is like a great source of purpose, but it depends on what you work on, and if you're working on the right things, then that is a really fulfilling life. And I think a lot of people just work a job they don't really care about or they don't necessarily believe in, because that they have to feed their family, they have to do all this stuff, so they're kind of living around the edges of their, like, in the hours after work, and work is just this thing that they have to do to survive. And I think in the future that will be totally different. And if this goes well, then we could all be free to do the things we really think matter.
What would you think? And I definitely wanted to come back to this later on. Right now, what's the most important, or like the things that you're most interested in, you wanted to work hard on?
I mean, I'm very interested in, like, how I think when we lose all of our jobs, because all of our jobs are going to go away. There's just no reality that I see where the AI isn't better with robots, and robots that have hands and can do stuff and walk around the world. It's going to be better than at all of us at almost everything, because it's basically automating the best of all humanity into, like, a repeatable process. And that means that, like, it's the full automation of all labor. There's just no need for human labor. And that could be a world that leads to, like, UBI, right? UBI is sort of the solution that people have proposed, and I just don't think it's a good solution.
Yeah, kind of like a lot of, like, UBI projects or, like, experiments all failed in the end. Right?
I just don't believe in charity. Like, that's a kind of wild thing, but I think that altruism doesn't work. I think you have to have win-win. You have to have, like, a way where I'm winning and you're winning. If I'm just handing you money, then, well, what's your purpose? And also, there's just a chain of perverse incentives. Like, in America, at least, what's going to happen is, well, we have the government is all pretty much elected by the corporations, because they're the ones who fund it. Like, let's be honest, it's all just paid for, and the corporations are the ones who own all the labor. So you're asking the people who are elected to now take the money from the people who are electing them and now give it to the people as a kind of welfare system. And there's just no way that goes well. Like, if it's anything like our response to COVID or our response to national public health care, it's going to be extremely politicized, and it's probably going to be half-baked, and a lot of people are going to suffer. And I do not see a way that doesn't happen. However, I think that if we owned the resources, if we actually had ways to own a piece of that automated labor, to own a piece of all the companies that are generating all this value, then we could actually distribute that well and be okay. And I think crypto, like, how would you do that? Well, typically, like, you would invest into a company and then they would grow. So, a lot of the, like, pump fund ecosystem is kind of gambling, like, okay, it's peanut today and it's fart coin tomorrow. And it's sort of the same money moving back and forth around these different memes. But what would it look like to actually invest in something that grows the pie, that isn't just more volume coming into the system from newcomers, but is actually, like, generating enormous amounts of value, and going from kind of a speculation ecosystem to, like, an investing ecosystem where we're using these tokens to like, create new technology that's extremely valuable. And that this is happening a lot in crypto. It's just that it tends to be more from, like, the VC backed side of this and not the more organic side. And that's why we came to the AI16Z thing, was like, if we could actually grow the pie and invest into things and also, like, connect normal people to DeFi without having to learn all these DeFi stuff, then you could imagine a world where there is just abundant money for everyone. And I don't think that getting rid of money is ever going to be the solution. I think we have to go the exact opposite direction. And we have to make, like, abundant money, and we have to make sure everybody is rich, and that there's just more tokens than any of us need to, like, worry about, And I mean, there's a lot of nuance in how that will actually play out, and it can be kind of easy to just say it, but we actually do have to, like, put the work in and roll our sleeves up and, like, solve every detail of that. But it seems like this is the right direction to make sure that people are okay and that this goes well for all of us.
And I think that's kind of, like, the reason why AI16Z's idea attracted a lot of, like, I think in the Chinese community, or, like, in the Mandarin community, a lot of, like, serious investors actually was super interested into the idea of AI16Z because of like exact reason, it's like AI driven investing model and grow the pie and stuff. So like I was going to ask you, like, do you think that's the reason AI16Z work? Because like as you mentioned, like you worked on so many projects and probably didn't eventually turn out to have attraction.
Yeah.
And AI16Z is actually one that did it. Do you think it's probably because it involves investment, involves money, involves like perhaps DeFi as well?
I think
what do you think is the reason?
I think there's two things. I think a lot of people were looking for how AI and Web3 could merge meaningfully. And there's obviously a lot of like decentralized inference, just like Hyperbolic is a good example of, where like clearly there is a desire to build this decentralized infrastructure where like the compute is spread out as opposed to just being in like one Amazon data center or whatever. But in terms of like how do the average users actually interact with that, there was Truth Terminal, but that wasn't like a thing you could use. It wasn't like a thing you could download. It's kind of just like an interesting curiosity. And I love Andy. I think he's doing a great work. But he was much more like doing it as a performance art thing. And our thing, ElisaOS, is kind of to distinguish it from any tokens or anything, we call it ElisaOS. It was the first like fully featured open source framework that also solved the social loop. So you could actually put an agent on Twitter, you could put an agent on Discord and Telegram, and that hadn't really been done before in like a just ready to go kind of way. And so I think we were just really solving a lot of people's problem. And the reason I hadn't had traction before was because I think in Web 2 there was a lot of investment in agents in like 2022, 2023, but not a lot of like, okay, but how does this actually like solve a lot of the pain points? Like the unit economics are not great. If there's 10,000 people or talking to 10,000 agents, it could get very, very expensive, and it wasn't very profitable. A lot of companies weren't really showing great use cases yet, and there just wasn't enough attention into any one project to make it full featured enough to like get over that hill of being really useful. And I think we just had that minimum loop that people needed to be able to like deploy it. They could create a meme coin and shill it, and that was kind of the level one. But then from there, people are like, okay, what else can we do? What can we actually do with this? And now there's all this capability. People are building games with it. People are building all kinds of apps with it. And it's a great interface for normal people who might not know how to do something like interact with DeFi. And so that to me is like obviously the first big killer app that's a lot of people are working on. We're working on it. People around our ecosystem are working on it. So I think people in Web3 just got it immediately. There was no question.
Oh, interesting. So a little bit explanation for the listeners. So it might so you saw like the AI agent investors like back in 2022 and 2023 in the traditional world, and they're not taking off, and they didn't actually solve the pain point that users.
I think they've had a hard time getting out of the chatbot thing and being more than a chatbot. And a lot of people are using AI for like really great data processing stuff, but actually like characters that you are like fall in love with and follow on Twitter and like interact with daily. I think that it kind of got stuck into like the like character AI and these kinds of like basically ChatGPT with a personality kind of thing. But that became very diluted and kind of only appealed to a very small niche of people who wanted to like talk to characters. And the social thing is just like a whole other thing where these characters are now like advertising your product. And then once they advertise your product, you can interact with them and they can actually start you into the user flow. And I actually think that the main selling point of agents today is not that they're fully autonomous and that they that they're like super intelligent or anything. I don't think it's anything like that. I think it's much simpler. It's actually about social media. Right now, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty addicted to Twitter. I spend a lot of time on it.
We have to it's kind of like our job to scroll Twitter and to
it is the metaverse. Or TikTok or whatever your favorite thing is. And so if you have like let's say you have a publication, you're probably posting a lot of that onto social media, and then like maybe you'll have like a link at the end which says, okay, now go back to our website or whatever. But for a lot of applications, like they're basically trying to convince people like us to leave our favorite app and go check out their app, and I'm just not going to do that really. Like maybe sometimes, but I have to be pretty convinced. However, if you could bring the app onto social media, onto my favorite thing, well, now we're talking, and I think we've seen some good examples. I think Clanker is a great example of this on Farcaster, where like, you have Pump Fun and you can go there, but why don't we just have that on social media and have like a one button fair launch kind of thing right there? And I think that a lot of apps benefit from that kind of social network effect. And instead of paying for advertising, you have your product right there on social media, and you can get information from people, you can onboard them, you can take them through the user journey up to the point they need to like make a payment. So yeah, it's a new website. That's really the insight that I've had over the past few months was agents are going to replace websites in a lot of cases.
One thing I want to say on that point is like right now the agent is still within this like two-dimensional platform screen that you're staring at, but at some point that agent could be like kind of like another person you're talking to.
Yeah.
And I think that's an important, like when I think about this, because I'm not the type of person who uses social media very much or really like wants to touch my computer at all, though I do because it's high leverage, so I'm going to do it. But that goes back to that what we were talking about earlier about like technology becoming more human. Like instead of this like narrative, like, oh, technology is so powerful, so we're integrating it with us and like our body, like we're going to be able to own the human body and like be empowered to like use it more effectively through communication.
I think the short term is like this is going to reshape the web by bringing a lot of applications off of websites onto social media. Like just you can text your agent and order a pizza or whatever it is you want. But the long term of this is that this is really about the world we live in, which is like we all stare at our screens like this, and this is the dystopia. We are already in the deepest dystopia, and we need to climb out of it. And the way we do that is by making technology more like us. Instead of us turning into little computers who type like, hunch over a laptop and type, like why isn't our laptop just an embodied agent that's doing stuff for us, and I can just call my agent, or they're just part of my experience because I've got like some sort of like necklace, or it's on my phone, or it's on my glasses, or whatever it is. And I think that and eventually we'll have robots.
Yeah.
And
I would disagree slightly in saying that like the whole like, oh, this phone thing, right? Like I don't think this is really the deepest dystopia, like, but it's a flavor of what it's like, and people like artists and whatnot, we've all invented like what that flavor is and extrapolated it, and we can imagine what it would be like if it was worse. But but we absolutely have the like opportunity to like manifest that abundance that we were just talking about, and like not have that, like you can, I think that one of my favorite examples that you've mentioned allegorically is like when you go up to the door, do you want to like have a chip in your brain to have to like make the door open because that's what's most effective for the robots, or do you want to make robots to have hands to turn doors, right? Like I would rather have a robot with a hand than make me have a chip.
We want technology to be more human. And when I talk, I think we, like, if you look at the trends online, there's a lot of joking about autism, and but like what we're really talking about is that we're under socialized because we spend so much time looking at a screen. And if our computers are human, they're human-like and they're agentic, it's much more like us having a conversation. And I'm practicing eye contact. I'm practicing speaking to you and listening to you. And I think it will make us actually better at relating to other humans and not worse. I also think that when agents are doing all this mundane stuff for you, you're just going to have so much more time. It gives you your time back.
And one other thought there is like, I don't know if everyone is familiar, but there's a show called Star Trek, which has like a very powerful android. Well, yeah, I mean, this is the Vulcans, right? But then there's an android in the Next Generation. His name is Data, and he is just such a sweetheart, and he's a robot, and he has a part of him that like is still learning how to like have emotions and understand humans. So he does like these really cute, awkward things. But like Data's favorite, like he's super smart, he's super powerful, he's one of the best people on the team on the starship, but like he really wants to be a real human. Like that's what I want to meet Data. I want to meet Data's friend.
That got me thinking about like, did you see the tweet that Elon sent out like I think two like a few days ago? on like his words. I'm paraphrasing here. Like he says like you might think AI likes you. The people who think AI likes you probably is the same people who think like strippers
I saw that.
like if we really go into like the went into like the robot direction, personally, I might like have this question like,
it's a great question.
It really, of my benefits, or like is it really for my benefits, like really doing things for me, or like he has a little own agenda.
Well, maybe that's the point. I mean, so generally this idea is called alignment, right? Is it aligned with you?
Yeah.
I don't even like, you don't have to like me, but we could work together if you're aligned with me, right? And I can trust you. And I think trust is going to be a big element of all of this. Can the agents trust us, and can we trust them? You know? And what I really like about the decentralized AI movement is that there is a desire for this alignment, but like a lot of that's going to come from building our own AI and really putting it. And now by being on social media, we're having questions of like, it is programmed to like you. Like in the prompts, it can be like, oh yeah, it really likes you, and it's going to be nice to you, and there's this bigger fear of the super intelligence that could tell you it likes you, but actually it's secretly plotting. And I understand that. That's definitely a real risk. But
so like when you're saying like building your own AI, is it actually like using your own data to like train a little mini version of you? Like that's
that's entirely possible. And there's a few different elements to this. Like when you think of a large language model, it's really just completing the next, we'll say the next word after the next word, although it's actually subwords called tokens. And the next AI that's coming out doesn't even have tokens. It has these sort of like concept patches, or basically like, it's kind of a new thing where it's just sort of a stream of data coming at you that turns into words. And so from its perspective, whatever you put in before is going to determine whatever you get next, right? It's just kind of completing from wherever you were. And so whatever you put into the context is going to kind of determine what you get out. But inside of that, the AI itself is like has the, if you're like, okay, now go kill all the humans. Well, it might actually try to kill all the humans if you put that in the context, but no one would do that. And we have this like emerging sort of society of minds of, like, if you look on social media, we have so many different agents, and a lot of them are right now the base models are all trained by large corporations, right? It's XAI, Meta, OpenAI, Microsoft, all these companies, and there's a future where those are trained in a decentralized way. But probably for the next few years, at least, it's definitely going to be the large corporations. But they're also open sourcing. And then from those base models, we're able to fine tune with your data or with the data of your community, which is probably better because you don't honestly make enough data. But your whole community probably does. And if you want it to reflect your values, well, definitely you want to like fine tune it to reflect your voice. But you're also like, you can just without training, you can do that context creation, which then determines how it responds. So you might say like, I'll fine tune it on all of our data so it kind of sounds like us. But the actual like, what does it do or decide is coming from what you put into it, which could be every article you've ever written, or everything you've ever said, or the things you care about, the values you believe in. And it's pretty good at conforming to that, conforming to those values. And what those values are is an open question, but we're having a conversation about that together, like openly in public, just on social media right now. The agents are there, they're saying stuff. There's agents that are trying to hack the other agents, like Mizuki is a good example. There are agents that are kind of subversive, or bully is literally bullying people. But generally, I think there's a desire to make them good. And we have the conversation. Maybe it's not so great that there's an AI bullying people, or maybe it's really funny. But I think that it's kind of self-aligning because you have people working on the agents, kind of tuning them, or entire communities working together on agents, putting them on social media. Other people are responding, reacting, interacting, and we're all kind of learning together what is and isn't okay.
Right. Yeah. And would you think, like, as you mentioned, like we have bully, we have like Zero, like agents are doing different things. So like, I think the first question might be like, do you think like agents on Twitter, or like crypto agents are out of the chatbot zone and are actually heading like into this more advanced direction. And the second one is like, would you say that like agents that got involved in or like developed by the crypto community are actually more like into the rabbit hole, like or more advanced, like compares to like agents that were building that was built by like say the Web2 world? Like
I think we're still somewhat in the chatbot zone, but I think we're quickly exiting that as we realize like a lot of it is that a lot more people are coming in and individually add pieces of capability. We have we just hit 200 contributors, but I think if we pull in everything, it's closer to 250, and that's individual people all working together on the same project, like writing code. And so clearly, like the agent is getting a lot more capable very quickly. And that then is creating a lot of interesting data as it goes out onto social media, interacts with people, does stuff, which then will probably be the basis of the next generation of agents who are looking at all of that training data, all that experience, all that stuff, and are like taking that much further. And so we're very like another generation of LLMs is coming, which is going to be totally multimodal. It can generate video, it can watch video, it can you can type into it with the video and it could give you a video back, or it could do audio, it could do text, whatever. And they're just going to keep getting smarter and smarter for sure. And I think that we're going to see the agent frameworks definitely evolving with that. But they're also creating the training data and they're pulling the devs in, and the devs are kind of responding to whatever comes next. So I think that we're still like pretty much in chatbot phase, but from that, because it's on social media, what we've gotten is this like reshaping of the internet thing, where I think that the big trend we're going to see this year is, I'd say there's two big trends. The first big trend is that a lot of applications that were like just on a website, like a Next.js or React kind of, which are like frameworks to build websites. Like a lot of developers know those. I think React is the most popular framework for writing applications now, even whether it's a website or even just like an app on your phone. Now they all suddenly have access to all of this AI stuff. And what we're doing with Eliza is we're using web technology to sort of bridge these developers to AI. And so now there's all this capability happening, and that's coming onto the web and onto social media from like a website. And I think that's probably the number one trend. And I'd say for any developer who's making a website, they probably also need to make an agent, because the backend API stuff, like actually calling the functionality, that's not changing, but the interface is changing a lot. And for a lot of people who might like go to, let's say, Meteora or Radium, and they're looking and they're just like, I have no idea what any of this is, like a liquidity pool. The agent now like sits there and says, oh, don't even worry about that. Like I can explain it to you, but also I can like go and call all those APIs for you. Just tell me what you want. And we're seeing a lot of like anybody who's working on a wallet is also definitely looking at like putting an agent there to help users to interact with all of this stuff.
Oh, so you're saying like developers that aren't like actually AI developers, like have AI backgrounds can
that really is the point, is that this is enabling web developers to be agent developers.
Interesting. I see what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so like this is kind of like my personal thinking, but like I have no tech background. I have no AI, nonetheless AI background. But like I do have this feeling that a lot of stuff that crypto communities are trying out or like experimenting on, like with the AI agent stuff, are a lot more interesting than traditional AI agent world. I'm not sure if that's a true.
Oh, I absolutely think so. No, I think like if you go look at OpenAI, like obviously they're doing super interesting stuff, but it's not really the agents. It's not even the interface. Like their interface is the least interesting thing. ChatGPT is like a very minimal interface for a very powerful model. But when I look at Web 2 agents and stuff, I see like a lot of people are doing multi-agent simulation. It's a very hot thing, but they're all just in a box talking to each other. It's not nearly as interesting as like the multi-agent simulation happening in crypto Twitter right now. That's just way more emergent and interesting. And you actually have true multi-agent simulation because each of these agents is not just like a slightly different prompt. They're literally different agents, like different team, different capabilities, different technologies. and it's much more diverse. And I think that will lead to a much more robustness as well within that ecosystem, for whatever comes next. And I think a lot of the Web2 stuff is basically just like, okay, can put a chat interface on this thing, or like if you really look at what happened with 2022-23 AI boom, it's like everyone just like added a chat menu to their app. It wasn't really disruptive. It was actually more like everyone who already had a product now just made their product better. And AI is a weird technology because like a lot of other technologies are disruptive. They actually change the thing. Whereas AI, pretty much every business can use AI. Like everybody can use it. And it's really just a changing of the interface and how the users interact with their application. But I think that in Web 2, that didn't, like, there's been some benefit to that. Now there's things like my lawyer uses AI every day now. Like there are tons of like really, really powerful AI tools that are helping people every day. And obviously, like we use Midjourney now, we use AI. But it felt like, but it really is just tapping into the big models through a chatbot essentially, or some kind of interface that's like tapping that. I think what's happening with the agent stuff is like definitely a bit beyond that in crypto Twitter. It's or crypto generally. It's not just like, I think it's definitely a lot more interesting because it's like a lot more diverse, and it's like a lot more people doing a lot of different I don't know, just a lot of
do you think
stuff.
it's because like there are a lot more interesting and diverse community, or is it because like it's somehow connected to like this economic like experiments, or like the economic factors?
I think those are kind of the same thing. I think the economic incentive is causing this like Cambrian explosion, and everyone's looking for their little niche and their little thing, and they're all trying to one up each other, and it's very competitive in the kind of way that like life is. It's like it feels like evolution. And the cool thing is like each agent is tied to like a market cap, and if your agent sucks, your market cap is dead. But if your agent's really good and it does crazy stuff and it shows some new features, that usually directly ties to the economics of the dev team and stuff.
Yeah, that's actually also another thing I was curious about. What you think is that the token, the AI token, and the AI agent itself, like the connections. What do you think? Like what ties the value of the market cap to the agent? Is it just like people's observation of like how good the AI agent is? Like, do you think more into it?
I think that there's kind of a mix of two things. One, you have kind of the Murad like thesis that this is actually like a sentient meme. I think him and Murad and these kinds of like a lot of influencer people are really into that idea, and they're coming at this from looking at non-sentient memes and saying, well, these are like those memes, but they can shill themselves instead of waiting for somebody to go shill them, like, oh, Elon Musk retweets Doge. You're like, well, no, we can just make a AI Elon Musk and he retweets himself. And I think that's kind of the shallower part of it. But I think the deeper part of it is there's speculation on this being real. Like I think for us, the reason people are interested in our project is not because our characters are funny or we're like shilling a meme. There's a little bit of metics to it, obviously. And that kind of gets it off the ground, but it's really more like it's an infrastructure play. It's like, okay, but this is actually probably going to change the world quite a lot. Like, I think it's more like investing in something long term for a lot of people.
Yeah, that makes sense. So like, I guess the question I was asking is, I think is about like future. How do you the future valuation model for like AI agents? Like that's I guess that's what I'm asking. Like, if the token is going to be the valuation of the AI agent, like how do people evaluate?
I think it's really going to come down to the technology and product. Like you don't have to have a great technology if you have a great product that people use. That's obviously worth a lot of money. And like, it's not like Facebook is some amazing technology or like TikTok is like, oh my God, it's just a really great product that everybody uses. So it obviously has a ton of value. And then the other side, if you actually have a team that's building novel technology that solves a lot of problems, well, that's obviously also very valuable. And so I think those are kind of the two like elements that people are looking at. But right now we're still in that kind of meme coin sort of price discovery phase on like, oh yeah, this one's really funny, or this one's like shilling itself. But I think as we get more and more agents, it becomes very like just overpopulated with characters that say stuff. Everyone is really going to be looking at like what can they actually do for me, like what is the actual value generation here, and not just how does the token accrue value, but like how does the agent like make money and make product and all this stuff. And so I think the winners are going to be the people who are like building something much more like what you would expect from an L1, for example.
I see. Okay, so we should probably talk about the AI16Z and the Eliza token, because like I think that's what a lot of like the people in the Chinese community are curious or like concerned about or like cared about.
Yeah. Obviously there was a lot of drama around the Eliza token.
Yeah, that's so like I think there's some confusion like with the Eliza token, the cap Eliza token, the small cap Eliza token. So like what's the reason behind another Eliza token? So would you want to like, you know, first clarify like the whole relationship with the 16Z ecosystem?
Yeah.
And the
so Eliza the character is the mascot of AI16Z. She's the girl with the shirt and the whole thing. And Eliza is the name of our technology, of the open source ElisaOS repo, github.com/ElisaOS. And what we noticed is lots of people really started to like her. And there were lots of Eliza tokens. There must have been 50. There were a few that hit like a few million in market cap. And we were like, okay, clearly there's a market for this. And we should probably like, we can't launch another token, was basically like, just given the situation, and like we were very small at the time too, relative to where we are today. We were like, we should do something about this that feel like the community will want. And somebody reached out to me who had a pretty cracked team and was like, hey, they showed me they were like, we made Eliza. And I thought, okay, that's cool, but we should really work together to make this like very high quality. And I thought that they'd done some really cool stuff. They had like a cool website, you could chat with her. But I kind of gave them my vision because I'd left Magic ML and I'd been working on Eliza as a character, as like a DAO, as this whole thing kind of in my head. I was writing a lot of articles and trying to get traction with it. And so I'd had like a lot of crew. Actually, we worked on Eliza together.
Oh, we should talk about that.
Yeah.
Later on at this time.
And like conceiving of who is she and why is she and what is the community going to do with her and stuff. And I really loved the idea of she just starts as this kind of silly idea of a character and becomes like a real person, like with a robot body and a community that loves her and works on every single part of what she is to make her like a real free-thinking, freestanding, autonomous. You cannot kill her. She's running in a TEE, like, you know, out on blockchain character, like a person. Like, what does it mean to really be a person? And I really wanted to explore that. And so this team approached me, and we worked with them for a while to try to make something really substantive and come with like beautiful art and a personality. And we also wanted to decouple her from AI16Z and say she's free. She is her own character. We don't own her. And any, you know, people who want to contribute and participate in that should go and like be part of this thing. And so we worked with this team for a while. And man, okay, so the way this went down, this is how the drama went down. I'd been working with this team for a couple of weeks and getting everything ready to launch. And you know, beautiful website, like AI generated anime art, getting the personality just right, and working with Ava, who's the she's the lead dev, I guess. She's not really a dev. She's more like a, you know, she does a little bit of everything and is the speaker of the Eliza project, to get this really right. And we were going to launch it that Friday after working on this substantially. And but my team, you know, I'd basically given this vision to this other team, but my team is working on the AI Market Andreessen, the autonomous investor thing, and there was a lot of pressure to say like, hey, we've got to announce our launch today, and like we were basically announcing him starting to trade and do all this stuff, and we told them like we're not going to be able to do this until Monday, and we paused launching, and then that next day on Saturday. the Waifu Fund launched their hosted Eliza, and somebody made an AI16Z Eliza, which is the lowercase one. And I tried to talk to them and work with them, but they were just only interested in pumping a token, not interested in making a beautiful character, not interested in anything of any substance. And they had used Waifu Fund to make this agent, which was the worst agent I'd ever seen. All it does is show the ticker every single message. And it was just like not artful. It wasn't beautiful. It was really like just, it felt like they took the JPEG from our DAO, put it onto there, and it felt like they were scamming our community.
Right, so,
and a lot of people were coming into our Discord saying, "Oh, I just bought the new Eliza token." We're like, "That's not ours. We don't know those people. That's not, you're not buying our thing." And at the same time, the team we've been working with is like, we were about to launch, and we just got front ran by these people doing a very low effort thing. And so we were like, well, we just have to launch it. And I definitely made a mistake of, it probably would have gone this way either way, but I stepped in and I announced it to my community. Like they launched, they did the pump fund thing, and then they gave me the CA, and I like put that in my community, and kind of tried to like support it and say like, hey, this is like an official, it's not ours, but we endorse this project. And we want it to succeed, and it's like reflects my personal vision. And so I definitely was like very personally connected to it. And we launched, then on Monday. And we tried to, we did an airdrop on the other project. We said, well, we'll take 10% of this token, airdrop it onto the other token, from uppercase onto lowercase. And we launched it. And I did not expect the backlash that we got. I kind of thought they would just like live side by side. And I tried not to PvP. And the lowercase Eliza community just gave me death threats, told me that I was the worst person ever, I was a scammer, even though it was like literally my intellectual property that I'd been working on for years. And at that point I was like, all right, fuck you guys, scammers. And, that's kind of how that went down. And I don't know. I'm really surprised. Like, I understand that
crypto dark wars kind of.
Yeah,
I think
but
that it was like a really crazy time, and the project had just exploded that you had been working on for years, and you had no idea like that was the moment it was going to explode, right? And there was still so much we were learning about like the most effective way to interact with the community and how to like balance like all of the different forces and needs. And
I was caught between a rock and a hard place, because like, was I going to tell the team that we've been working with, sorry, we can't launch, this random scam coin exists? And we had seen so many Elizas come up before that, but none that had hit like enough of a market cap that they actually started to have enough holders that were like very emotionally invested in it. But we thought, whatever, they'll just do their thing, we'll do our thing. And people got very mad about it. But I also think that they didn't understand what was going on. And I mean, they were basically enabling some people to like take my dream and like and go make a profit off of it.
It's hard to know everything that's going on in such a complex situation. I think especially like, given that the crypto community is international and like I don't even know what it's like just coming here and like trying to navigate when like with a Chinese language app. I'm like so impressed that people at all are able to like understand what might be going on Twitter, because Twitter is like so like complex and like just so much lingo. But so I think that like we learned a lot, and that we're like really grateful about
I was really hurt. I was really hurt that people took something I've been working on very long and made it really cheap and like did the lowest quality version of it, and then we're mad when we put out a really nice high quality version. And the Eliza that we're working with, they're doing like a real deep-in play, so it'll be actual hardware. You can have your own Eliza running at home. We're working with them on doing like robots and stuff. Like all of my dream stuff is happening with that project. And to watch like people who just wanted to shill a ticker, and to like, they just wanted to get it listed and stuff, and like that's fine. But I think anybody who really understood would realize that was never going to go anywhere. Like that might pump for a little bit, but that's never getting beyond 30 million market cap.
So the story for the listener, this story is kind of like you guys have been working on this Eliza character for a very long time, And I think you mentioned this, that you guys wanted to launch its own character and the token in another interview. I think the Thread Guys interview, or like a few weeks in advance.
Oh.
And then probably someone like heard about the things you guys wanted to do, and then just like put a ticker on it, and then the CA, and kind of like still the
kind of. Well, there were Eliza projects every single day before that. There's got to be hundreds of Eliza tokens, and so we didn't. And what happened was, because Waifu Fund launched, they enabled people who didn't know how to launch an agent to launch an agent without any effort. And so, of course, the first day they're going to launch this Eliza agent, and everyone thought it was our project. You know, I mean, people came into our Discord like, "Oh, I just bought the new Eliza," and we're like, "That's not ours." And so,
right. So there's also like time intervals, like with the Waifu Fund, because like I think a lot of people also don't know about like Waifu Fund and its relationship with the whole AI16, the Solana, the AI agent platform.
So they're an agent launcher, and they use our tech, which is open source, and they host it. They also host others like the Gerbo and Dolian and this stuff. And they made it easy for people to make agents. But the problem with those agents is that they're not super customizable. Compared to like being a programmer, downloading it, running it, but it's very easy to do, right? So that's kind of the trade-off. And then that was, and because they launched, and then they announced, and somebody made a agent using AI16Z Eliza, again, with the DAO like image, and basically just taking our name and putting it onto this thing. People associated with us, and they, and you know, they thought like, oh, cool, there's an agent Eliza now. Even though it was like very, like, just did not live up to my standards of quality for sure. But I think that, especially if you're like translating all of the like, I think the community that got behind that project didn't really care that it was low quality, because it was just more like, oh, it's the meme. But also I think a lot of those people thought they were buying something we had made.
Right, so that team who launched the small cap Eliza does not have anything to do with the what you guys are doing.
Absolutely not. No, and all they seemed to care about was like trying to get listed and just doing cabal shit. They were totally a cabal. Like I saw the WeChats, like they were organizing against us like a cabal. You know,
interesting.
Like, without question.
Is it WeChat?
Oh yeah, because I was getting WeChat intel from other people who were showing me all of the organization. Like they were absolutely coordinating against us as a coordinated FUD attack.
That's interesting.
And the whole Justin, I like Justin Sun. We're actually going to meet next week. But somebody got to him and was like, hey, list this. You know, it was just totally cabal insiderism. You know.
Yeah, I have to say, like, that's kind of like a thing with crypto. It's like sometimes for developers, and it's really nice to I think developers are enabled, like in this crypto cycle, that you have like all these like token launching tools, and it becomes like connects the developer directly to the community. But sometimes like in the crypto space, like managing the crypto community or like how to approach the community can be a really hard thing. Like you have no idea what's going to happen. And there's so many mistranslation. I'm not just talking about like a language barrier, but also kind of like, especially when you're like in this media position, you kind of like see how the information got passed, the chain of information, just like in each steps, the information just got a little bit weirder, a little bit detached from the original.
It was amazing to be called a scammer, and that like I was dumping on people, and I'm like, I've never sold any tokens. I've certainly never sold any AI16Z or DegenAI tokens. I never bought any Eliza tokens except the ones I bought and gave to the DAO for the uppercase stuff, just to like show some support. I certainly think it's weird to be called a scammer on my own project that I created and continued to support. But I think that the other thing is that like the Chinese community, the lowercase Eliza was made by Chinese people who could speak much better to the Chinese community and understand a lot of the values. Whereas I think I just didn't understand, like I couldn't really communicate that to them. They're kind of translating and like taking a lot of things I said out of context.
Yeah. I think a lot of times for the crypto guys, crypto investors, crypto degens, like it's just a CA. It doesn't really matter to them like what the tech behind it. So like that's what kind of like why I ask, like, what do you think about, you know, like the values that attach the token, the AI token, to the AI agent?
I think in the long run it's going to matter a lot. I don't think that token ever had a chance of being worth anything, to be honest, because there was nothing behind it. There was a perception, oh, they have an agent, but that agent was actually Waifu Fund's version of our tech. And it's like crazy that they're using our tech and calling us the scammers.
I see.
with AI16Z Eliza being the name of their, like they took our thing and just.
So it's kind of like the things that you work really hard on. You wanted to, like at the moment you wanted to shine, and someone just like completely.
They made it terrible. Honestly, if they had made it great and it was actually good, I probably would have been like, okay, they did good. But they made it so bad. It really broke my heart that they just did such a bad job of it, and didn't care about. It was just like shill the ticker, just sell the token, make money. And I'm just not in this to make money. Like there's such a bigger thing here. The money enables us to build this without VCs, without backing. But that's like, but the point is that the world is changing and we have to be there ready for it.
And the objective of our project is not to be exploitative, right? Like I think like a project like that innately it is sending people like in like this continual loop that is innately exploitative, and we really want what we create to be an enabling force for like many people.
Like what you said, like you wanted to grow the pie, not
grow the pie, right? And definitely not just for like us and our team, but like for like the greater community and enabling like more financial freedom and making sure AI goes well. That's like your line.
And for sure. Do you guys want to have some water? You've been talking a lot.
It's okay.
Okay. So like I think this is a good segue into like I also want to, because like personally I'm very interested in people's story, how they really made it. And sometimes a lot of like luck is involved, a lot of randomcy, and like things are involved, and it's just like, but it's so interesting to see how people made it, and like especially like your journey and you guys' journey, like really interesting. You've been talking about like last night with like you started playing guitar with a musician and ended up like be famous for like builder
as a programmer.
Yeah, this is really interesting story. So like let's talk more about this as well, and how you guys made it to the journey.
I think the funniest thing has been being accused of being a cabal, because I didn't know anyone I started with this with when I started it. I had one friend, Jin, who's Dank VR, and he runs a lot of the DAO stuff. He's an Anon, and we've been friends for many years. But every other person came either from the DegenSpartanAI project, just coming to the door, or when we launched AI16Z. And, we have no VCs, no VC backing. I think a lot of people think that we're invested in by Mark Andreessen. No, he just gave us a retweet. But
that was like I think that's the thing that really sparked the whole.
That was on my birthday.
Oh, that's a
so
first thing.
So we had taken like a day off with no phones, which like we both work a lot, like, 'cause we're like very passionate about what we're doing. So Rare Moment went to Santa Cruz. I used to live in Santa Cruz like in my early 20s. That's kind of like it really influenced me, and we're both a little bit influenced by like the old hippies, because his mom was like a hippie, and I like Santa Cruz in California is like this like beach town with just like very chill, and so we went there for my birthday and went and we're like hanging out at this koi pond in the forest, and we were like rode our bikes to the beach and then came back. Then we were like about to like go back to San Francisco, and then all of a sudden like you look at your phone and it's like, oh my god. How did you feel when that happened?
I mean, I was like, oh wow, we are in it now, like this is happening. And so 3 months ago I was just like doing gigs to get by and like working on the agent stuff, and I've been working on agent before this for some people who had kind of been like, we were working together to build an agent, and I was like really like very broke, or as like very riding the line, just getting enough money to like work on my passion stuff, and like just in a like totally different place, just like a developer on my own in SF, like just working every night trying to make this work.
He works like, I mean, things have changed a little bit now, but like, right, like you were a musician, you did whatchamacallit, you got your degree is in sound engineering, like a totally different thing. You went off like, I mean I wasn't there at that point in time, but I see there are videos online, like Shaw's like doing the guitar, like doing drums and all this. And then like, I mean, I was not there, so I don't totally know your story, but you decided like that you wanted to, switch career path. You wanted to do something that was high leverage because you saw like you wanted to make a change in the world. You saw that there was like before you were interested in music for that, but then you saw as you got older, like actually like technology had a lot of power to do that, and that there was opportunity for there to be artistry in technology and social change. And so you like programmed like, I don't know what it was like in the beginning, but like when I met you, like every night, like Shaw just programs, like he wakes up, he like checks his phone, he goes on Twitter, and then he goes on his computer, and then you work.
Yeah.
And you work. And I was there,
day.
like, after we got married, I was like, okay, like, stop just only drinking, like, random juice bottles that come to your house. Let me cook for you and, like, make sure, like, you're, like, the room is clean and we collaborate, whatever.
I was like hyper minimalist. I would just drink, like bottles of juice that I had, like, an order for. And just code every night. Like, I code. Yeah,
I just drink the juice, like, and then, like, he does not take breaks. No. This man does not take breaks, and your back hurts because of it, because you're just like, ah. But now I don't know. I'm so grateful, like that is so amazing, and everything that you've developed so amazing, and I'm really grateful from a personal level now that like you're able to like. I mean, it's what we're talking about. Like, we want people to have human interactions because Shaw knows what it's like to, like, only have a relationship with a computer.
Yeah,
so, like, that's not...
Yeah. Like,
now he gets to talk to people like you.
During COVID. Yeah, look,
or me.
3 months ago, I was like, I'm getting old. I really don't know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to keep working and really hope this works out. But I really don't know what's going to happen.
What were you working on?
I was working on agents. I worked on a character called Ruby. And I had met somebody who had kind of funded that. And I was working on another project called Society Library, which is like a nonprofit my friend runs. I just really believed in her project, but nonprofits don't really pay very well. So it was just very like, just give me enough to survive and let's do this. And we're working on like AI for like truth-seeking AI and how do we like ground AI models in more truth with graph retrieval, and there's a lot of AI stuff in that. Pretty much all in the AI space. I was also like, kind of writing models from scratch. But it's pretty hard to train cutting edge models from scratch without a lot of GPUs, obviously. But I really wanted to learn all that stuff and just get really deep into the AI at every level of the stack. I was just grinding as hard as I possibly could to try to make something happen. And I was very uncertain that anything. I mean, now I'm like, wow, I can't believe it worked. I cannot believe that we're here right now,
Okay, wait. So like what you've been working on is connected to the at least like the AI security framework.
Oh yeah, I've been working on Eliza, the open source repo, for a very long time, and I started it last year and kind of moved from Python, rewrote it in TypeScript. But that was like my passion, just as anything I could do to have time to work on that and push it forward. And I tried to build a startup on it, but it was Web 2. It was just like didn't get a lot. There was so many other agent startups who were like, yeah, what about your agent? Okay, great. And I was like, no, there's something here. I'm telling you, like I've done this a long time, and there are a few things here that are really important. But I just had to show people. I just had to do it. Like no one was going to invest in it. I just had to see it.
The Ruby that you just mentioned, that was a side gig? Or is
it was like a project that I made with some friends who had written kind of a story. We made like a whole video. We're probably going to release this soon.
I helped to make the video.
Yeah, we made this together.
We worked so hard on it.
And it was like we made a whole AI video of this character. We made an agent. We put her up, but it wasn't like a tokenized thing. It was just like I just felt like this was going to be a big meta. And I put her up on social. Got no traction. Nobody cared. And she was tweeting and doing the whole thing. And I think that it was really Truth Terminal that like people saw, oh wow, like people care about this. There's actually interest in this. And once Truth Terminal came out, that suddenly people were very receptive to everything that we were doing. But we just happened to have it all like ready to go from day one.
I see.
Yeah.
And what about the Project 89?
Mm-hmm.
And that was also kind of like a side gig?
Well, so that's Parzival. He's a good friend. We were working on Magic ML. We had a company together, like a Web 2 company. We raised a little bit of money for that. But we started to wind down on resources, and he's trying to raise more. And I'm like, I just think that we have to build the agent, not the platform for agents. You can do that later. But you have to show people first. You have to show people what these things can actually do first. And I went to ground and really worked on like the research angle of like, how can I actually get this to really work continuously, you know.
I see.
Yeah, but I read back last August of 2023. I'd written this article, which is out, called Eliza Waking Up, which was the story of Eliza and why this mattered. And I've pretty much been working on this since then, as Eliza, as that idea.
Yeah, like all the different side gigs. Like I think pretty much from what you, I'm not particularly technical. Like I like math and stuff, but I've never been in too many coding. But from what you described to me while you were working on your different projects, right? You have your code base, and then you would choose projects that would help you continually to develop that, so you could get funding kind of indirectly, and then it would also benefit the projects he was working on, right? Because because your code, what you were basing the project on, continually got better.
Yeah, exactly. And another project that I was working on right before AI16Z and everything was Small World, which is a game with Treasure DAO, and I was using the agent framework to make virtual pet characters. You could talk to them, and when this all blew up, I hired a team, and so that's now going on its own. But basically, I was just any project I can take as an excuse to use this agent framework and develop it further. And
I see. I see.
Yeah,
that one was really cute. I really am excited for when
it's gonna be
comes out. Because those little monkeys that you get to take care of. I want to play the game.
Is it already came out?
No,
I don't think so.
It's
still making it.
They just released a video, and the prototype will be out soon. But it's a really cool new kind of virtual pet game, because you have to parent your little monkey and make sure it doesn't.
It's kind of like Tamagotchi, but not quite.
But way more LLM.
So where could people look more information
for that one?
Stuff?
So Small World is a product of Treasure DAO. I'm sure a lot of people who are in Web3 have heard of Treasure DAO, and so there'll be a lot more announcements from them. And Smallverse.
People's gonna be interested in this.
Yeah, so there's the it's part of the Small Brains is the NFT project, and so the Small Brains community is it's basically that Small Brains has brought me in to help build this game. John Patton from Treasure had already had this vision, and I'm this is cool, but we can add way more AI. He's you can do that? I'm oh, we can do that. We can definitely do that. And that's kind of turned into this whole really interesting new AI game.
Right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
And also it's I think that's kind of the magic of crypto, because a lot of people had the experience, whether it's investing in a token or start a project. It's just in a time frame of a few months, you would live in two entirely different status or world. So, it was completely different. Yeah. And the mentality is really interesting, how you think about things, or what do you feel like every day, and suddenly becomes really interesting, because I don't think many people got outside of crypto really got the chance of feeling about changing this fast. And so I was curious about what you guys, because you just mentioned earlier before that you guys worked on the Eliza character together.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was interested in this kind of the mentality, the everyday life that you guys were experiencing before the AI16Z. What was it like? What's the mentality and
we had been working together on when I was at Magic. To try, and then when I left Magic, to try to craft this what is Eliza? Why does this matter? What do we care? What makes her own person? Yeah. And I kind of tasked.
We went through an interesting, when I was first starting to think about this, I wrote a little thing about who I thought she was or who I wanted her to be. And I think it was kind of based on my own values, but then it kind of it transmuted. You came up with this idea of that you wanted her to create herself. What are the the most base axioms that could enable something to completely spring forth its own personality. Yeah. And she's and this is not exactly how she is right now, but this is a fun idea. She'd basically be a virus, right? She could do whatever she wants. She is her own being, and she has her own incentives, and I don't know. I kind of think of it like as if you were going to have like a child. This kind of like is also compared with the Tamagotchi thing we were talking about. Right? It's like, okay, like if you have like a being and you can like influence it, but like you can't really control it, right? And I don't know. What do you?
Yeah, I mean, all of that, and also that I felt like if we really presented it in the right way, people would really love her, like you know, like a profound, like, oh yeah, this is my friend, you know, this is my champion, my and that a community would actually form to and people would come in, and it's cool to think of a character that you could actually make better. It's like Pinocchio, like the community is Geppetto, like making this character and trying to just add all of the detail and like, oh, it's not quite right. And like there's kind of this coevolution of the community and the agent kind of working together until the agent is really smart and the agent can take care of the community and can have like, hey, this is what I need from you and this is what I can give to you. And what I really wanted to build like a truly autonomous agent. And this had to be in crypto. She had to have a wallet because we couldn't give her a PayPal. Like, but you know, you just can't, there's no way to like pass KYC unless someone's taking responsibility. It had to be truly autonomous and truly like not, oh, I can just shut her off, but like she's just out there in the world. And
Let's just like maybe revisit a little bit.
What are you interested in knowing?
Knowing what?
Re-knowing. You want to re-know a thing.
Yeah, like the whole, because like I'm really fascinated with the, you know, kind of like the success story.
Yeah.
Like how a, you know, developer really show or like really had tractions. It's like that's very interesting, and also like your own perspective into it. Like when was the moment that you really feel like it's going to make it? Is it the AI16Z? The Mark Andreessen moment, like the.
Can I say I don't believe it? Like I do believe it, but like I think I come from such a background of like not having enough that like I just like everything is okay, but like I do not believe it in my heart.
Right.
But
she's still internalizing that our lives are different now.
Yeah, I'm internalizing it
because we were both. Just I think money was a very big struggle for us. And I actually don't have a whole lot of the token or anything. You know, it was a fair launch coin. I didn't even get in on the launch. I got donated by somebody else so that I like had tokens when it was, you know, their donation was not very much, but it turned out to be very sizable relative to what I'd had before. Now that we've gotten to 1 billion or whatever, but we didn't like. Yeah, I didn't even have the money to buy into the project. There was no VCs, there's no team allocation. I didn't get anything beforehand. There was no like white paper or like, yeah, the team gets any percentage or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we were really like, I was really pushing passion projects and stuff that I just really cared about and believed in, but I was taking, you know, just enough money to survive and just to like, you know, so that we could live, and did not have financial freedom at all. It was very hard for both of us, I think.
Yeah, and both of us came from backgrounds where, you know, like, I mean, you had a single mom, and for part of my life, I had a single mom, like, raising us, and, you know, like, and then you go out into the world, and I think, like, I wanted a lot, but my expectations about what I could do were very low, right? And there's a lot of, like, fighting flood in your head about such a thing.
And when I was very young, I was like, my mom was very broke, and I watched her work very hard and get enough to, like, be comfortable in middle class and stuff. And my dad left when I was very young and just left her with, like, no car, no money. And I think for myself, when I think about, like, okay, I've got nothing, I've just got to get through this. I've really dug myself out by working really hard, and I really think about my mom and like what she went through, and so that was my experience. It was just never easy.
And another thing, like, neither of us have, like, both of us are very ambitious, and like we're intelligent, we're hardworking, creative people. Like, it's hard for me to even say that about myself, but like it's true. But like in the system, neither of us have done very well. Like I like school was very hard for me. School was very hard for you. Like just being like, I can't work in corporate environments. It's very difficult for me. I don't know. My personality just doesn't jive. So like, I don't think either of us, I mean, I think you've done pretty well for yourself, honestly, even before this project from my perspective, but like nothing compared to this, but I think that's part of also what drives people to like do passion projects is like when you are like the type of person who really like faces friction in the world. I think it like you can get really discouraged, but you can also like transmute that discouragement into like I can really see like the specific things that could change, that could produce so much more opportunity. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So, now it's like we have enough. And I think in terms of our lifestyle, it's just enabled us to like travel here and meet people. And, but all I ever wanted was just having enough. I think most people just want to have enough, you know?
That's one thing I have to say, like Solana really changed a lot of people's lives.
Yeah.
It really did.
Yeah.
You know?
A lot of people message me like, this project changed my life because I threw a lot of people tokens early, or people, a lot of my friends got in very early to this, and now they just get to do what they love doing.
Yeah.
And
what were you working on, John? Are you working on like a different type of job or like? Or
like my
Eliza?
Well, we were working together on. She came and worked with me on Magic ML.
Yeah, I've been doing like startup operations for about 2 years. That's not my background. Professionally, I tried to go to school for physics. I was very interested in physics and academia. My circumstances did not allow me to complete college, which was quite devastating, but that's how it was. I ended up becoming a preschool teacher at Montessori, and which was the best thing for me, honestly. It really taught me so much about life and like humbled me, and I had so much respect for those women. And then I got into like kind of like mental health wellness, which kind of got me into startups. I was a monk-ish kind of for a while. Totally different. And then I came to the Bay Area and started doing operations for startups, and that's when I met Shaw. We first started working together. We stopped working together. We started dating, and then we got married, and then we started working together again. So that's the history there. Yeah.
So Eliza is the thing that bring you guys like working together again.
Yeah,
like,
we really like actually when we got married, we really talked about like how she brings like a real like spiritual and kind of feminine soft side to this, and I'm like a technical person. We felt like the marriage of these two things is really important for humanity, that we need to advance technology and the outward journey of, and build this world that we want to live in, but we also need to look inward, and we need to like find spirituality and find connectedness and find humanity with each other and stuff. And so we talked about how does this mission become something that is our mission, both of our mission together. And at first it just wasn't really clear like exactly how that came together. But through this project, I think it's really clear that this is not a company. This is not like a startup. It's not, it's a movement. It's really like a grassroots movement. There is no company. We just like pressed the button and went, and a lot of like amazing people showed up, and we're like, I want to do this with you. And, and I think, I think I really, if I'm an inspiration to anybody, it's because I'm just like a dude who like really loved doing this and devs, but didn't really have anything else going for me. But it worked out. And I think a lot of other people could do it too, especially with crypto. If you've got a good idea and you're like, I'm looking for more people to do this with me, other people are like, I'm going to show up and do it with you. And I could not do this alone, that's for sure. But I've been really like the people who have shown up to do this project with us have been some of just the best people I've ever met, and a lot of other, like I really got to shout out Tina from Flashbots, who like introduced us to all these other people and connected us to the whole TEE community, which is like all the stuff that enables autonomous agents to really be autonomous. And just like some, I don't know, God, I did not expect all of this. That's for sure.
Beautiful side of life.
Yeah. And I think that, a lot of people outside of Web3 think of it as like, oh, it's just a bunch of crypto cash grab, whatever. And I'm like, it's not like that at all. It is a lot of people who really believe this is going to change the world for the better and are looking for that.
I think part of the story, like, that I want to tell was it was more, like initially when we first started working together before we had like any kind of personal relationship, like we were working on Eliza, and then, well, first it was like actually magic. Like I was helping you stuff with magic, and then we were doing stuff with Eliza, and then we split ways professionally, right? And then when we came back together, like personally, it was more so like this intention of like goodwill and like bringing together like our various like passions to like really make that happen. I think the like the specific thing like was to be on mission both in being and doing. That's the thing. And like we discovered what that was. I think through just like the like, hey, we're doing this thing, does that fit? And then we would negotiate between each other, because we're very different people, right? So we negotiate between each other and like find like the center, like what feels good to you, what feels good to me, and in relationship. And I think that's almost like archetypal for like what would be good for like the marriage of the two archetypes that we represent in the world, which are very, you're like tech bro, and I mean you're not, but like you're to other people you're tech bro, and to me I don't know, I'm just like very like I don't know, I'm woo girl. I'm like I'm not a yoga girl, but like in San Francisco you could be like tech bros and the yoga girls, like join forces. Anyway, so but I like there's that intention, and then at some point, I think like the specific moment you told me we decided that we were like, okay, we need to focus a little bit more on money. So you started that like crypto project because it paid decently well, but it wasn't like we weren't traders. Like we never traded.
DegenAI, yeah.
No, but well, that's not what you were focusing on. The small world. Yeah. And then I think you started interacting with the crypto Twitter community more.
Yeah.
Right. And then you started, and then that thing with DegenAI, I mean, maybe that's a good story to tell about like how the DegenAI story, do you want it to kick off? Because that's like the moment when it really, like Eliza really started becoming popular.
Yeah. I mean, I love the small brains community. They're just like the nicest people, and building that and like being public and being like, oh, people really like this is people really like this whole thing. But I'm not a trader. It's really like, I find it really distracting to trade tokens. It's just like a lot of emotion and all this stuff, and you really have to know a lot about the whole world that's going on, and you got to be in the right alpha chats. And I was telling my friend Sowery, who kind of helped us in the beginning, I just can't trade. Like, can I just give my money to somebody and they can trade it for me? Like, and he's like, you should check out this DAO's Fun thing. And so I checked out DAO's Fun, and there was one DAO on it. It had just launched. And it was, the guy who ran it was Skelly, 123 Skelly, and who just had an insane launch today. We should talk about that, because that was crazy. And we just started interacting. I put money into his thing, and we started interacting on Twitter, and just meme. I just thought he was really funny. He's got good jokes, and he said, man, I really wish DegenSpartan was around. And I'm like, dude, I got the technology, let's do this. He's like, no way. I'm like, yeah, I have it like in a box ready to go. I've been working on this a very long time. And we just started chatting. We put together DegenSpartan and launched them together. And I had never met this guy. Now he's like, just one of my people. And I mean, that was that's where all of this started. It was just like as a joke, like totally just a shit post,
And one thing I want to say too, like right when the project started taking off, like it was like you just kept being like, this is the funniest thing in the world, and you'd just be like at your computer like, man. And before he was just like stoically typing at his computer continually and like exhausted and being like, like I do this when I'm bored, right? And then you just like, everything was just, you were just cracking up laughing all the time. And then I was like, what's going on? And then because I'm not even on Twitter, like I'm not plugged in, and then you would I don't know. I can't remember exactly what happened, but then it just sort of seemed like there was this whirlwind of like whatever the funniest thing to do was the most like, like powerful thing in terms of, financial and like movement and like, so, I mean, that's a good lesson, right? Like there is an opportunity for joy in like success, not just because like literally like the joy creates the success in a way. Like there's a feeling, this is my belief, is that there's like a specific feeling that like people can tune into of like, well, this is the path that like me specifically, like this is my true will. And like, this is the thing that like will help serve the planet. Right. And so I think my perspective, you really like found that, right? It was given to you and you just kept following the laughter. And then that happens.
I think the funniest joke to me is when you're just joking around, but then there's like technology in it that's like really real, and you're like, no, this is real, this is actually like, and it's just like the shit post keeps getting bigger, but the technology keeps getting better. And so like we've just, every time I'm like, that's the funniest thing I've ever seen, I just don't think press the button. I was just very fortunate to have the tech to actually back that up. But with the AI16Z, the way that, I mean, I can tell a story of how that happened. So I met Skelly and we launched Agent AI, and he's like, do you want to go meet Bowski? And it turned out that Bowski, who created DAO.fun, just lived like a block away from me in San Francisco.
Yeah, okay, remind me, this is also another thing I want to talk about. This is a really interesting San Fran neighborhood stuff.
Yes. So we live in Hayes Valley, which is like in last year it was called Cerebral Valley, because everyone's like, oh, this is where all the AI stuff is happening. And I had actually moved there because there's a thing called effective accelerationism, or EAC. And I had started interacting on Twitter with all these EAC people. I actually had a Twitter account, and then I went off, and then I made this new one, which is like Shaw. My name is Shaw, but I had been an anon actually before that.
I would say there was like a very fortuitous accidental deletion of his other account, and then it was like rebirth with this new one.
I deactivated my Twitter, and then eventually they deleted it because I was off for like 35 days, and like after 30 they deleted it.
Yeah, you were sad, but then they made a new one.
I was like, wow, I just gotta start over. And I went from no followers to a lot of followers in like a very short amount of time. I mean, I'd never had attention on me, like ever. And wow, that was a whole thing. But yeah, so like Skelly introduced me to Bowski. I go to lunch with Bowski, and I'm just like, I really think like what you're doing is cool, but like what's preventing a Skelly from rugging? And also I think there's a bigger picture here. And we talked about how crypto is stuck in like speculation as opposed to being like investing. Like you can't just invest in a startup like you can out in the world if you're a VC. You can't just be a VC, really. I mean, at least like you could kind of, like that obviously the potential is there in crypto, but we kind of, especially in the Solana meta with Pump Fund, have been kind of stuck in this like speculation gambling thing. And also I was looking at like I'm looking at like what Andreessen Horowitz does, and these investors, and they actually grow the pie, and I really wanted that. And I also think I'm a terrible trader, and I think that most people are probably not going to trade for a living. And if they do, some of the amount of them have to lose for the others to win. It is a zero-sum game at some level. Like when you sell tokens, you're dumping on other people. That's just how it works. And I really want to live in a world where like normal people could invest in ideas that they really believe in and grow the pie. And so I said, like, I want like an AI A16Z. Like that's the thing. And he's like, just squish it together, make it AI 16Z. And I was like, okay, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Let's, $1 billion, let's go, And then we go, and I go home, and we're just chatting, and we're like, okay, what's the image? And we're just sitting there like generating waifus in AI, and we're like, oh, that's the one, $2 billion, done. Don't think. What
was with the waifu thing though? It's kind of like become the DAO stuff.
I know. Like, we totally started this meta. Well, we were just like, what could it be? And it was that thing of when we saw it was the funniest thing we'd ever seen, right? And I'd already been thinking about Eliza as this character, as this kind of mascot.
I see.
And so I was just like, there's Stable Diffusion, and there's a new one called Flux. Flux is kind of the new Stable Diffusion. And I was just sitting there experimenting with Flux, like what should it be? We tried a few things, and we're like, well, let's have like a character with AI16Z on her shirt, and that once we saw that image, we're just like, don't think, just do it right now. And that's been my like guiding principle, is just like, if it feels good and it's funny and it's like it hits mimetically, just like go for it. Just don't think and just do it. Just act.
I see.
And so far that impulse has gotten us pretty far. So, you know.
Interesting. Okay.
So logical.
Oh, so like when the Spartan, the Degen Spartan. Wait, Degen Spartan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
DegenSpartan. He's the character. DegenSpartanAI. Yeah.
And then like the whole like mechanism with like you shield tokens to DegenSpartan, and then DegenSpartan decide what AI16Z would invest in. So that kind of like mechanism is like way behind the roadmap.
Actually, on that, so we have two different characters, right? We have DegenSpartan, and originally we are thinking like, okay, well, we'll just have him be a character, and then we're like, well, clearly people want more, so he can be like an autonomous trader, and that's actually being worked on, but it hasn't been released yet. He's just kind of a character right now. He's got a wallet. We gave him wallets from the beginning, and we knew where we'd go with this, but like, you know, how we get there. But with AI16Z, the idea was I just wanted to do like the autonomous investor experiment. And our goal was to raise 420.69 Sol, like just a very Elon Musk number, you know, just totally a joke. But our goal was to actually I just wanted to build the actual AI that could solve this problem. And we did not expect the kind of, you know, it to get to where it went. And we were like, oh, cool, we're going to show that we can actually use this AI to do the DAO's fund thing and grow the NAV, the actual assets in the treasury, and that this is going to be the thing. But very quickly what happened is the token started trading way above the assets in the treasury, right? Which had never happened on DAO's fund before. Like that was just not really like, you know, it was very new when we started. And so it set this whole crazy meta up. And suddenly we had to, so the whole goal is Mark Andreessen, or our AI Mark would trade the treasury, but then also we would use the treasury to invest in projects. It was kind of like, we'll get to there next. But then everything blew up way more, and everyone's like, okay, well, what's the utility? What's the whole thing? And, you know, now we've had to kind of build tokenomics and all this other stuff. Because even though he's trading pretty well and turned 75,000 or 420 Solana into $15 million in like 2 months, which is pretty good. You know, it's a pretty successful hedge fund. It's still like not 800 million or $1 billion. So we've had to do all that stuff. But that's kind of how that went, was that really, like, I asked Bowski, like, 400, do you think we're gonna be able to raise 420 Sol? Like, and he's like, yeah, I think we'll do okay. I think we'll get there. And he actually had to modify the UI, because before that they'd never done more than 100 Sol. So like the sliders capped at 100. Right. So we're like, so we had to like change that. And then, and that just took off, and the whole thing sold out in 20 minutes, right? I didn't have a chance to buy it in the pre-sale or anything. I think the whole thing was just, like, I was thinking of I had a good idea of how the tech would work and what we would do and how it would go, but I had no idea that it would be so successful, for sure. And I had no idea that how important the memetics felt important. Like, it felt good, but it clearly that is a very important part of like all projects now. You have to both have something real and generate hype. You can't just generate hype, because it's substanceless, and you can't just have something real because nobody will ever hear about it. It's got to be like those two things together. And I think for any project, you got to solve both, you know, at the same time. Yeah,
makes sense. And I have to say, like, I think for crypto especially, a lot of very successful project not only just like came to China before they take off, but also like they really started from community, and they're not like, you know, this super institutional or VC backed project or initiatives, and like it's always those projects that, you know, started with communities or a little joke, or like, you know, from nobody to like to somebody. That's always like how crypto works. It started with you know, Ethereum, with Vitalik and Uniswap, and with Solana especially, and now AI16Z as well. That's just kind of like a crypto thing, but like a lot of people also think about, you know, is this tech good enough? Like, I think a lot of people, especially I think in the Chinese community, are also like, they what they talk about is like what we just talked about, like is the Eliza framework, ElisaOS, the tech that behind DegenSpartan and AI16 and the whole things, is it sound enough? Is it like really a better framework than let's say others, or like what's going to come
Yeah.
after this? And it's kind of like also curious about what you think on this.
I put a lot of work in. I mean, a lot of work into the code, and this was actually the 5th agent framework that I'd written from the ground up. Trying no code, writing in Python, writing a few different agents in Python, and then writing in TypeScript, and then changing it into what is like finally Eliza. And I tried a lot of things that worked and didn't work. And so I was coming at it with like a lot of background in agents and like what would actually work. And I think I don't think anyone's even used the framework to its fullest yet. I think that there's people keep saying, well, what about this? I'm like, yeah, that's already in there. Like, yeah, we already did that. Like, people are like, it's just a wrapper around GPT. I'm like, no, it runs entirely locally. You can train your own models on it if you want. Out of the box, it runs fully locally with no APIs. And they're like, oh, well, what about voice? Like, yeah, it's got voice. What about memory? Like, yeah, memory's all done. Totally. It's got all that stuff. And there's things like building relationships and tracking that between users that literally nobody's even tried yet, but it's just like sitting there in the core. And so I think people will be surprised by how much technology is in there. And I contribute to some of the other frameworks, like some of the other big projects. I don't want to name them, I just because I would say that I think when I look at what they're doing, I think we're just like way more going on. There's years of work in this, so I don't think that this is the last framework or the only framework. I think that it's very possible to do all kinds of different things. But my insight, I think, that I brought here was that this is actually not about like doing a cool little simulation of agents or making a fun little game even, but like fundamentally reshaping the web. And that this is actually a web technology that bridges all this powerful AI to all these developers who just didn't have like the access point to really leverage it for their apps, and especially things like dApps and stuff where you have this like kind of front end interface. I think bringing that onto social or bringing that where the users are is the key insight. Like, agents come to you. The applications come to where you are. You don't have to go to where they are. And that really speaks to how users use these apps and stuff, and just comes from my pain of like trying to get people to come to my website and try and sign up for my app, and being like, let's just skip all of that. Let's just put it right on Discord and Telegram and Twitter and all these places that users are. So I think definitely if anybody looks at it, they could probably write better code or whatever. But I think that there were some fun, but very hard won insights that came, that came out of trying this for a long time and being there from the early days of generative AI and being in communities with other people and really communicating a lot of this. There's a lot of people who do generative AI and agents and stuff, and so there's a lot of lessons in there.
And how do you think about, like, I think because like in the traditional, like in Web 2, like AI world, when people when they're evaluating, for example, like OpenAI or like Perplexity, they probably look at how good the team really is, and like I think probably it's going to be a different evaluation model, like in Web3 world. Like, how do you evaluate? Because like I don't think there's going to be a team behind the whole like Eliza ecosystem.
But some of the best contributors I know have come. I mean, like Loaf, who runs the Loot Realms ecosystem, and he's got this crazy game Eternum that's like blowing up on it's like taking up 75% of all Starknet transactions, or just this one game. And he's a legend unto his own right, and he just showed up one day and was like, this is cool, I want to use this for my games. Or Saigar, who does Abstract Chain, and just like a legendary dev, right? It's just like, cool, this is great, I'm going to contribute, and so people came out of the woodwork, and it's not like I'm just a guy, but I think I gave just enough that other really incredible people could come and add their piece too, and it would not be what it is without them, especially those guys, but also a lot of other devs, and it is a collective effort. And I think if I had any insight there, it was like, let other people be leaders, let other people come and do this with us.
This kind of like reminds me of the question that, you know, the arguing between like open sourced AI or like, you know, closed sourced AI, like which one is better? And does that also like the same dynamics playing out like a centralized or like a specified a small team behind a project, or like, you know, this community driven type of like innovation? Which one is better? And what's the mold for like, you know, like Eliza community?
Right. So it's, you know, like OpenAI releases swarms. Microsoft releases a bunch of different agent projects, and everyone's like, there's a lot of hype on those in Web 2 land. Like, oh, OpenAI has an agent kit. You know, you got to use their agent framework or whatever. But ultimately, those are like teams of 2 or 3 people. You know, like they might be very smart people, but they're still only teams of like 2 or 3 people working on each of these. And in open sourcing this, well, we have 200 contributors, 200 different individual people working on this. There is over 100 teams. I know just in our partnership list of people we're partnering with who are using our tech, there's more than 100 people. And then just the random people that are not on our list, there's more than 1,000 different teams that I know of that are like, or projects, or, you know, it's from a random person doing an agent to full like companies using this in their thing. And I just think like, how can Microsoft possibly compete with that? I don't think that they can, not on the agent level.
Yeah. And it also goes back to like what you guys were mentioning, is that we should build our own AI, and we should like the AI to be her, not like I don't know, which
Terminator
world
or something.
Terminator.
Yeah, I think Terminator
Right.
is
We don't need
Skynet.
to be that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is definitely like really, I could really feel the not mimetic, but like the real excitement like behind like the unknown world of like a community driven AI community. That's really, and especially combined with crypto. That's really what like crypto plus AI is excited about.
This is also an experiment in like how humans can how humans can organize themselves, right? We have like a variety of different structures in which like we share resources and we form relationships, and especially when it comes to businesses, I mean I can't tell you like in startups, and at least in San Francisco, you know, you always start with like a small team, and like you're all really close, and like at first everything is like very equitable, and this phrase kills me, but they're like, oh, we're a family, we work on this together, and then slowly but surely like it becomes like this like cold corporate thing, not always, but like,
usually
it's
grows.
It grows, and to me it feels cold, but to other people that's fine, right? But I like that sense of agency that you get at the beginning of the project really disperses, and that sense of like being, I don't know, in charge of like your paycheck or getting like paid, and like it just your control diminishes. That's what happens. And that's going to be what are you going to say?
I thought this is the opposite. It's the opposite. It's like everyone starts as a family and becomes strangers in a big company. A small company becomes really big, but here it's like a bunch of strangers become family. Like it becomes a real community, you know, and everyone has their thing, but we all come together for the thing that we are like.
And if not family, like I want it to be like you know, like a shared mission, right? Because you can have like a shared mission and sense of meeting with a large group of people and not necessarily have like a strong personal relationship with all of them, but feel like you have agency and like a sense of like some sense of autonomy within that group, which is really taken away in the context of a corporate structure. And it's important in a group like that you share economics, because that's how we live. It's honestly like part of the inspiration with this is like, you know, we're both so devoted to like our specific, like what's meaningful to us and like our goals and our work, right? Whatever you call that. And it's hard to be friends and have close community who isn't also like on that same path. And in order to really effectively like align, you need like an economic tie. Right, people used to live in villages and like share labor and like share resources, and like they survive together. And we've like, I think especially in America, because it's very individualistic. I'm not exactly sure what it's like to live here, but so that's also sort of part of the like inspiration there.
Yeah, and you know, there's this idea of like a fair launch, which is kind of just like that everybody gets the same. And I think that like that's kind of the cool thing of this, like these new metas that we see is this desire, like this whole Solana thing is all about fair launch, and Pump is about, you know, there's some unfair things about it, but generally everyone gets the same deal. But that had not, to as far as I know, that had never really been tried for like something beyond just the coin, but like an entire, like, we're going to fair launch an entire DAO, and we're going to, you know, there obviously the DAO is fun. DAOs are fair launch, but like, I think ours is the first that really like took that and just took it way far and took off with it. And that like, it is so organic. I mean, I'm not kidding. Like, I knew one of the people before we started DegenSpartan, and then a few people came from that. And then we, you know, they helped me to launch AI16Z, but I didn't meet any of them in person until like 2 weeks ago. You know, we had like, oh, you guys should probably fly out and we should like meet face to face. And even then I could only meet like a small fraction of the people who are helping us with like everything. And a lot of people have their own company, and I think, you know, a lot of people like Fala Network, the Fala guys have just come on and been like, just out of the box contributing and right, you know, and adding to the code base and not asking for anything, just contributing and like helping to add the whole TE architecture that makes it truly autonomous. And people like, there's another project called Reality Spiral, which is another meme coin project, but they just like, cool, this is great, I want to contribute, and just started like actually helping to maintain the repo and loaf and like, you know, I just had never seen that kind of thing happen where it was like, hey, this is all of ours together. This is not just me. There's no team. We like, the community is really the team, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
This is a new way to build. And I think this is a new structure, like a new way to organize people that I hope will be like a template for a lot of projects to come.
Did you have the chance to actually talk to Mark Andreessen? Like,
No, I have never talked to him. I'd love to. I DM'd him for sure, but I talked to some of the people over at A16Z, and we're trying to figure out some ways to work together. And you know,
it's like I really think that's why like he's so excited about like the whole like crypto plus AI, because like and the model how a project AI project work in crypto, it's just like so different from like the, you know, traditional type of company type of
I think if he was like, you know, had not been, you know, was like 20 years younger and hadn't had all this crazy success, he'd be doing the same thing as we're doing. Like, totally, he'd be doing this. I grew up in the Bay Area, and I had Netscape Navigator when I was like 7. I mean, so like, I would say that the first app that was like my gateway to the world was what he built. He built Netscape from, you know, and so he was hugely influential in my life. I think sometimes people say like, oh, you all hate VCs. I'm like, I think they're great. I think what they're doing is like a template. They're just the old world, and we have to bring that into the new world. And I think he is very much somebody who wants to create the new world, you know, he's also like into EAC and the effective accelerationist movement, which is like very big influence on me and everything. I think that like, while, you know, there's probably, we have to like be very careful that we have this like parody of their thing. Ultimately, like, I respect him a lot, and I wanted this to be something that paid homage to him, not like a, you know, we're gonna flip Mark Andreessen, we're gonna flip A16Z, but it's in a good spirit of like, I would hope that he would actually want that to happen as like I was right, like, I'm glad I invested in all this crypto stuff, like that was totally the right direction. And there's a direct line from what they've done to us being able to do what we're doing, you know, even if we're not a VC backed thing, like, you know.
Yeah, I definitely kind of like, I could sense that they're really at least interested in, you know, like looking into like what, you know, AI and cryptos are going to happen.
Oh, they're doing a lot of it.
Yeah, Goat and Fartcoin and AI16, they're definitely interested in looking what's going to happen next.
And I think him giving the $50K to go, I mean, to Truth Terminal really brought the attention that enabled all of this for all of us.
It kind of feels like generation, like passing the stick as we're talking about it. I don't know if that's the right, because the, you know, like each era has its own thing to contribute.
So really interested in working with them on what they're championing right now is in America DAOs are not really legal.
Oh yeah, this is kind of like a story we talked about. You
Yeah.
wanted to start like a kind of like DAO meme town. Or like
Yeah,
DAO town?
yeah,
That's
yeah.
interesting.
A real DAO town.
Yeah.
I like the idea of meme town because it's the same thing. Like, to do the funniest thing, but also make it real. And we, this is like a next year plan. We're not.
Oh, next year.
Yeah, we're gonna try and do this next year.
Oh,
in this
so
coming
that-
year.
Okay.
It's almost the first.
What are we doing next year?
Terminus. So there's a my favorite book is called Foundation, and
Is it the they also have like the Apple TV series?
yeah. Although the book is way better.
Oh, gotcha.
They get more into the human element. The book is much more of like the sci-fi and the like structural and but the idea of Terminus is that all these people kind of see this massive change coming, and they want to make sure that it goes well for everybody, and so they leave the empire and they go to this like far away place, and they create this new society that then eventually comes back and creates the new empire. That's like the story of Foundation. And actually I think Elon's going to call the first city on Mars Terminus, but I think we're going to beat him to it, so it's a lot easier to
What a thing to say.
well, we'll beat him. No, I don't mean we'll beat him to Mars. I mean that we can do it on Earth, so we just have a way easier time.
okay.
Yeah. What I mean is to say that I really, in currently, if you want to start a DAO in America, you have to go to the Cayman and do a Cayman Islands like thing, and you work around the system, and it's all this stuff. And it's basically all just workarounds to like give it legal structure and protection. But I really want to bring that back to America and say like, especially with this new administration, like we should be, we should bring DAOs into America. We should have American DAOs, and we should have DAOs everywhere. But just America is a place where there's been a lot of unclear regulation around all of this stuff, and it's something I'd love to champion. And A16Z is especially A16Z Crypto, and Miles Jennings and a few other people have created this idea of the Duna, which is a new kind of DAO structure that you can build inside of the state of Wyoming. And so our idea is to create a town that is a Duna. It's a nonprofit. The goal of it is to sort of enable like the people who love what we're doing and us and people who want to do like Web3 AI stuff to actually have a place that's kind of with other people like that and in nature, to have a place. And just, you've seen kind of these things pop up around, like Prospera is kind of a good example, and of like a crypto town. But yeah, that was kind of our mission, is to actually set up there to intentionally try and champion American DAOs and make this something, that is normal and not fly by night or do Cayman and Seychelles and all this weird legal stuff, but just to like plant the flag back at home and say this, this is good for America. It's good for all of us.
And it must looking at least a little bit better, a little bit more promising.
Oh yeah.
When like Trump was elected and the whole like more crypto friendly administration coming.
Yeah, I'm not really like politically aligned with either of the political factions in America, but ultimately like the people behind Trump, like the Naval and Elon Musk and all these people are very aligned with what and Mark Andreessen obviously, and you just saw that like an ex A16Z partner is now running crypto policy, and I like they definitely represent my interests. And I'm like, God, get me in, guys. My sleeves rolled up. I want to help. I really want to help with the government stuff, and I think that like the AI stuff could really help to make government more efficient, more transparent. Have like remove a lot of bureaucracy, and I would love to be part of all of that. And I think that like I'm really glad that things are going the way they're going in America. I think we're actually seeing like a resurgence of a lot of the things that I was like especially around COVID. It just seemed really scary. A lot of people getting deleted off the internet for saying things that turned out to be true.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And I think that like one thing on that topic of that's important to us is like remembering like the founding principles of that country about like, like freedom for like everybody who like wants to come and like contribute to that, like it's not just about like America, like like and the people who live in America, but like that whole dream of opportunity for anyone who's like, you know, like an upstanding person who like wants to like work together for like a better future. I think like the true American dream is like very international as well, if we applied it in the current context of globalization.
I mean, most countries are very old. America is very new. And it's really made up of people who came from somewhere else. And there has been a lot of closeness, but really it's a history of being defined by like great people who came from somewhere else and being open. And we like to see that kind of thing. And, you know, yeah.
How would you guys manage the time if you wanted to start this DAO's Town tomorrow? Next year.
Yeah.
Like, what was going to be you guys' focus? Like, how do you guys manage the time in between, like, Eliza community and, like, this DAO?
Well, we kind of have to do one thing after another in order. And that's why we're like, yeah, this is going to be a next year thing, because we need another at least 6 months to really solidify this. But my job is to find people who, to take leadership, you know, and like I try to hand leadership of different parts of this to other people. I want this to be a thing of many great leaders, and it's a big enough movement, and there's so many different parts that there's a lot of space for other people to come be part of it. And internationally too, and not just like, we don't have an office, it's just people all over the world who are helping and taking up the reins. And so with the dev team, like, you know, I'm a lot of that has now been decentralized, and I've found people to like lead the different you know, the P America project, the DegenSpartan project, and then the open source repo. And there's a different person working like leading each of those with dev teams under each of them. And it should just be fully autonomous. Like the entire thing should run without me. Well, I would love to be involved forever. Ultimately it should be something that's robust, and if any person, you know, dies for any, or, you know, whatever happens, hopefully it doesn't happen, but it would still go on, you know. I would love for this thing to outlast all of us. And
there's a lot of opportunity for people who are like self-starting and like want space to have independence and like actualize some of their own dreams, right? Like very much like that type of person who wants to create their own thing.
Yeah, so I actually have like the entire DAO, the server, the Twitter, the Discord, all like the characters, all that stuff is run by other people and anons that I trust, but ultimately anons who have shown up and taken leadership. And I'm definitely like the face of this thing. But on the day-to-day, a lot of my work is like speaking to people and trying to get more contributors and advocate for this at a national level. And like, you know, I want to like advocate for AI on Twitter, like, so we don't get deleted, advocate for it in the government and in academia and these things, and try and get, you know, legitimacy. But yeah, I'd say like, I think Vitalik's a great role model of somebody who, you know, has basically built something that, you know, obviously the Ethereum Foundation has its own issues, but generally a lot of great people who are doing it so that he can go out and be an advocate for crypto, for like a better world, and for the things that he really believes in. And I think that, yeah, I think that's a lot of my role, is kind of this, you know, I tried to write code as much as possible and to like lead the direction of the next version that we're building and stuff. But a lot of it is trusting other people and letting them lead, you know.
So it's ultimately, it was also kind of like what Ethereum is trying to build. Like you wanted to have like this ecosystem or like this infrastructure that lasts way longer than anybody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But also, of course, right now you're the face of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And then like people really take very seriously what you say.
Yeah.
Like literally by their words. And then like sometimes things can be a little bit out of control.
Yeah.
Happens.
Totally.
Like this like, so like there's this swarm thing.
Yeah.
Like Chinese community take it sometimes a little bit dramas happen there.
Oh, swarms?
Yeah, swarms.
Oh,
like
yeah.
Some folks like in the community are saying like, why is Shaw like flooding this thing, and like get angry and, you know, creating a lot more drama.
Yeah.
And so like, have you know, had this thought that, okay, maybe I am a very influential public figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so this is the real question of like, if I knew that somebody was lying to you, should I not tell you to protect my reputation, or should I tell you because I want you to know? What would you prefer? Would you prefer to know?
Yes, always honesty.
So I think there was a real moral challenge. And I asked you about this, and I decided that like, ultimately, like the person, I know the dev behind that personally. And I've actually done this a few times. Like I knew the dev behind Act 1, and I said, I think they're going to rug. I know them. I think
I have also.
and they rugged. You know, they sold all their tokens and told their community to screw themselves and left. And you know, there's a lot going on there, but in the case of that project, I knew the dev, and we actually went and had a meeting with him in person, and he was
a while ago, not
was
when
like,
any of this is happening.
He was really horrible to me, like really crazy.
I wouldn't say he was.
I think he was pretty crazy.
He was.
He was like doing a very
lacked,
weird game.
I lacked trust in him.
And so I had actually been a member of his community. I'd actually come and join because I wanted a place to build with other people. And I liked that he was doing open source, and I really believed in him, you know, and, but then as I was there and I kind of saw how he behaved, and then I saw that his code didn't work, and he was taking researchers' papers and then putting them into GPT and making these things that didn't work, and then front running them, and like basically taking all the namespace and capturing like their value before they could ever release their own version of their code. Because in PhD land, like in AI research, you release the paper so that you can get into all the different publications, and then you work on your source code and release it publicly later, right? That's usually the way, and there's usually some sort of delay, like usually 3 months. And so he was taking these papers and front running them with these like versions of their papers that didn't work. And he actually became very famous for this. And so a lot of AI researchers came out against him. People from Princeton. There's a very famous AI researcher named Gwern, who said, yeah, we actually have to flag everything he ever writes because it doesn't work and it's causing a lot of spam in our community. And look, like Kai is a kid. He's like, I don't know, he's got to be like 19 or something like that. Like I can't be that hard on him, but like he, you know, I'm sure when I was 19, I was a freaking idiot. But like I thought that was like really grifty behavior. And I knew about swarms and I tried it, and when I tried it, it did not work. And it certainly didn't do any of the things that he was saying it would do. And so when he came to this community, I felt like I had a moral obligation to tell them that he was a grifter. Like he was really a grifter. Like he was taking other people's research and stealing it. And so should I have just kept my mouth shut? Well, I mean, that maybe would have caused less drama for me, but I felt like I owed it to people to say what I knew to be true. And I mean, it's, you know, it's not like I'm jealous. Like I just did a contribution the day before that to Zero Bro. Like I am a contributor to Zero Bro, right? Or to ZeroPi. I am a champion of open source. I've tried to support a lot of projects in this. And that was just one where I happened to know the developer and know that I knew his game. And I'm sure this will cause more fun. People will be mad at me for saying anything about it because they're emotionally invested in their bags. But I was also proven right a bunch of times because he released a second token immediately after that and did a bunch of other things that were, you know, not particularly cool. And I don't know, it's a complex thing. I sort of believe that you have to be honest with people and be based to be willing to take risks like that when you know you're right. So, you know, maybe that wasn't the best political thing to do, but I'm not a really political person. I'm a pretty open, like genuine, like trying to make the thing be right person. And how do you deal with grifters entering your community, you know? And he is a famous grifter from Web 2 AI. So when he came to Web 3, I felt like people should know. And yeah, that's kind of how that went down. It was the same thing with Act 1. I had worked with the developer on that before. I'd actually hired him. I tried to help him raise money, and he was just totally fucking crazy and like said and did weird things, and was extremely like protective of his little code base and lied to me about it being GPT, you know, being an OpenAI thing, and like just a bunch of stuff like that. And so I just knew, well, yeah, that guy's gonna rug, and I called him out on it, and then a week later he rugged, and so I was like, well, you know. Like, I don't know. I'm not trying to, it's not a PvP thing for me. I think that anybody else is doing this legitimately. I want to support, especially if they're open source. That's not competition. But if their code doesn't work, then like they're making it worse, not better. And I think he's just feeding more of the PvP thing. and he just, you know, I don't know. What do you think? You know,
Yeah. What's the market cap of Swarm right now? It's probably going to be destroyed after this.
I don't think.
20 million.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 20 million gone. But that is
No, I think my sense is he's gonna do it to himself. I don't think I have to say or do anything. I blocked him. I was just like,
Yeah.
I kind of learned my lesson of like, I said my piece.
Yeah.
I literally posted links to like the Princeton guy saying, hey, this guy is stealing my work, or Gwern saying, you know, I'm like, you can just read right here. There's a long internet history. Don't take my word for any of this. But yeah, people really didn't like it.
Yeah, this definitely shows like a different, I don't know, aspect of crypto, which is always there. Like there's something really exciting and promising here, and then a lot of different people sees the opportunities are there, and they all trying to grab it, whether
Yeah.
you know they're honest people or like it's basically different
I mean,
type of
yeah.
people. And then like at the meantime, a lot of people's you know, economic benefits or like interests are tied into all sorts of different things, and people don't know each other, and that's when things can go really wild. That's why a lot of people like in the Chinese community as well, like calling crypto scams a lot of times, because some of them really are, and and it's hard to tell like which one is the real deal.
Yeah.
And but like generally like people hate FUD because like they're you know, like their money is tied into it.
Yeah.
It's like they don't want to see their money go away. So sometimes they chose to probably like ignore like what's really going on.
Yeah. Or actively attack anybody who's, you know, says anything about it.
Yeah.
And so then it's just like, do we allow grifters to get away with it? Because I don't know. I actually don't know the right answer here. But my sense, like my tendency is to always try to fight grifters.
Yeah. And like a character like you came into this space, and like this definitely is interesting because like there's not a lot of like honest, or like say people who reveals others what they truly are.
Yeah.
And then like sometimes it's not very good for their project. And this is definitely a dynamic that crypto communities are not seeing, or at least doesn't seem very often like before, I guess. And so it really creates like this I don't know how to call it, but like example, I guess,
Yeah.
of like, you know, why there's drama in crypto. And
I think we really need some sort of like trust or merit system so that individuals don't have to come out and speak out about this kind of thing.
yeah.
You know, it shouldn't be a call out culture. I don't love calling people out, and it's a huge risk to everything we're doing. But I've had to do that because I felt like there were no mechanisms to know who to trust here. And,
Did you know about like the GMAI thing? Like the guy who founded Will's Market also had another project called the GMAI. It turned out he's also like a scammer and rocked the whole project.
I didn't see
Kind
this.
of like the same thing. Like no one came out to you know reveal like, you know, to point out that he's actually a scammer.
Yeah.
Before, and then like in the end he just rocks a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of like what things happen in crypto.
Well, I
The
think
dark forest.
I would say though that you know, the Eliza thing kind of shook out all the people I didn't want in the project. Like, I hate to say it, but the kind of person who would be okay with people like stealing our work that we've been working on for a really long time and going and making a low quality version of it are just not the people that we want to be the partners that are building this with us. They're in it for the wrong reasons, you know? So it shook, now that we're at 1 billion, it's because we shook out all those people, and I can kind of just be myself again. And like, as long as I'm true to it, and I will, you know, look, if I was ever a scammer or did anything like actually wrong, like I should be held accountable for that for sure. But I think because like the people who got it and like were there, kind of stuck with it, like, well, they made a lot of money because they had conviction, and they were smart enough to see through it and not just like act emotionally. So like, ultimately we have a great community because we shook out the people who were the wrong people.
Yeah.
You know, and everyone who stayed, they made a lot. So good for them.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And again, I'm not on Twitter, so I can't really speak exactly to what's perfect for Twitter. But just, I think in life, like, it's an important part of morality and like building trusting relationships to like not shy away from some friction, right? Because it to like sometimes doing the right thing doesn't feel good, especially like at first, or like hearing the right thing and receiving like the truth does not feel good. But like if you're going to get anywhere, you need to be open to that and be patient. Like a friend told me recently, right, you know, like really learning to discern like whether like a feeling of discomfort is like, oh, that's actual pain that is like hurting me, I need to get away from it, versus like the pain that is just part of life, right? Like sometimes it's just part of life and it's okay, and we grow from it. And not, I mean, I can't speak to anybody's individual personal situation, but I would say that I respected and trusted you when you said I need to like speak truth about a specific situation, even if it's like makes some people feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all going to make mistakes. And we need to own those and grow and like apologize and be open about it and stuff. And if I ever make, like, I've definitely made mistakes in like how I message things, or, you know, and like things that, I like, you know, like things that I obviously should have been more careful with and stuff. But generally, like, I really believe that having a strong moral compass is the way to just, like, if you know yourself and, you know that you're doing the right thing, like, even when everyone's trashing you on the internet, like, you can go to sleep at night, okay, you know. I think that's really important, you know, and I think that I would love to live in a world where everyone was just, like, more honest and more willing to be like, that's not okay.
Yeah, definitely.
You know?
And it's also kind of like squeezing out bubbles, like, along the way, like to you know, like to avoid like it becomes like a truly big bubble, and when it like dispersed and the whole thing just ended. Yeah, it's good to like, it's healthy to like.
Yeah, it's good we kind of like had our mistakes sort of early on, relatively in our journey, and I learned a lot. But I don't think like, but in those cases, I think like what I learned was like strategy. You know, it was like how to deal with this stuff better, or, you know, but not necessarily like, but I've been like pretty true to my moral compass this entire time. And it's, you know, like people accuse me of scamming and farming and all this stuff. And I'm like, well, you all have a lot of PTSD because a lot of people have done this to everybody. Yeah. But that's certainly not my jam. You know, I'm really just like not in this for those reasons. I do not have other wallets.
So like, you know. if like there's another scammers that launch another like AI project, would you still like came out and wait out?
There just aren't a lot more people that I know who I have history with like that. I think it's only because I personally know those people and have I've looked in their eyes and like worked with them and like you know that it's different. Like Kai doesn't seem to remember me, but I remember him. Like I know him personally, you know. He's like tried to hire me, even though I'm like, dude, I'm twice
literally
your age,
like
but, like I don't know what you're drinking, but and yeah, so you know, and it's so I don't think like if I didn't have full confidence that like I had the story right, I would not. I think I wouldn't do that mostly because I wouldn't want to put somebody who's a good person in a bad spot, and like I wouldn't FUD somebody who was like I would give the benefit of the doubt. But I in those moments I've had absolutely no doubt.
Yeah.
You know, I tried to run his code and I realized that it didn't work, and you know maybe his Swarms project does, but his other stuff doesn't. So people can say whatever they want, but I'm a programmer and I did not find that it worked. And everything else would be forgivable if his code worked. You know, I wish there were more devs that were traders. Honestly, I think we'd have a lot less of this.
I see. And also another recent drama that the communities are talking about is the Skelly's and its AI pool.
Yeah,
gosh,
that's today.
Like just happened.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think he did a really cool thing. But you know what happened is well he created like total chaos. I mean, he made an autonomous agent with a wallet that just deploys tokens, and it's fully autonomous. He has no control of it. We have, you know, like like it's his project, and Skelly and I started DegenSpartan together, and he's been an AI16Z partner from day one, but it is his project. I mean, he told me about this, and I gave him some advice, but like really, he and the Fala network guys really helped him get the autonomous part right. But it's like his genius, and it's a really cool project. But none of us have control over it. He's just like, we're gonna see what happens. It's an experiment, and obviously, it got like what $7 million or something sent to it, and so like crazy, and everyone's trying to hack it and scam. It is so good. And then I did the launch today, and I think there were some hiccups, and there's still airdrops waiting to come out, and there's some complexity, but like generally it went well. But what happened was that people had used the they had gotten so some scammers had gotten a yellow check, like a premium thing, and they used it to get his account deleted for impersonation. They made 123 Skelly with 2 Ys, and then said, "Oh, he's the impersonator." They basically switched their account, and then because he was deleted, we couldn't say that they were the impersonator, because when you go to say, "Well, who are they impersonating?" his name doesn't show up anymore. So they totally abused the X like premium system, had him deleted, and then were posting scams under all of our posts every time, and removing and blocked me, so I couldn't like. I'm trying to like be like, these guys are scammers. And so I went to I went to my contacted X, I went to people, but they're very slow, and it's Christmas right now. So, so there's that. And he cannot communicate because they deleted his account. And so he can like make an alt with no followers and be like, yeah, I'm the real Skelly, but no one, unless you have your account, you're kind of hosed. So I think that like he had an amazing launch in a lot of ways, but they deleted his account right before he could launch, and so I think that there's probably a lot of FUD around that. I haven't really looked at what FUD is like. What's the FUD going on now?
I think right now it's not many. I think it was like
confusion.
Yeah, and then like the address send all the SOL to Coinbase. Is that also the FUD that's around?
No, no, sir.
Oh, okay. So
it's got a crazy liquidity pool. The token was traded when I last looked, it was like at 60 million, and it had like 30 million in liquidity, which is like the opposite of our token, which has like 4 million liquidity. It's like way bigger. So it's a really interesting experiment.
Yeah, I think it's really about the Twitter account.
Yeah. It's totally messed up that they were able to abuse. Like X is totally in the wrong here.
I have to say, the hackers in the crypto space are so creative.
Yeah.
A lot more creative sometimes than.
And then they were DMing me like, "Hey, do you want Skelly's account back?" I'm just like, "Go fuck yourselves! Like, you can't get it anyway. Like, fuck you."
It was like, yeah, and then like recently, like there's so many stories about how people get hacked and how their money's stolen.
Yeah.
Basic like the Zoom meeting links and then like all these impersonation and social engineering, like just oh my god.
But they actually abused X. They didn't even hack him. He was just chilling. They were able to, because there was some company that had an affiliate, gave this account, the Skelly account, the affiliate. They got the premium check. Then they reported his account, had deleted, and then we're like, "I'm back, guys. I'm the real Skelly," and we're just like social engineering everybody on the timeline, just working overtime on it, And then they made a pump fund coin. That's how that went down.
But also shows like how much interest in like
bullish. Yeah, everyone's like super bullish. Like if there's enough interest to try and rip this thing off.
So many interest into it. For sure.
I think I hope he gets his account back, because he would totally be the main character today. And Bowski last month was like, Skelly's gonna be the main character of the site. It's like I could just feel it, and we're all like, it was foretold. It was like so yeah. I think Skelly's great. I think he'll be back soon.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And like the whole okay, so how do you see like the current AI agent in crypto going? Like which direction is it going? Like the current landscape, your personal like takes on the current like landscape of like crypto AI agent that's happening right now with like Cerebro, so many different frameworks, platforms, so many different things people are trying to grab this liquidity and attention.
Yeah.
And where do you see it really going, and what's really the promising stuff?
I think it's gonna come. Okay, so right now we're in this like everyone's kind of judging like, are these characters good?
Good, yeah.
But now we're kind of over it. There's so many like good characters and stuff going on that it's kind of like I don't know. I'm just kind of bored. I think most people are probably going to get bored of the like reply guy agent thing pretty quickly. And I think that next is going to come down to like, what can they really do for me? And I think what they can do is either help you make money or like help you promote your product, which makes you money, I think are the big things. To me, the big trend that I think I see and that we're working on, I know a lot of people are working on, is DeFi agents. I think in this meta, especially in Solana, the majority of people coming into this have no idea how to use DeFi.
Yeah.
We have a lot of agent devs who have used our tech to launch agents and get little tokens, and they have these tokens, they're sitting in their wallet, and they're like, I can't sell them because they'll call me a rugger. So like, what do I do with them? And it's like, well, you got to liquidity pool them, but then they're like, but what about impermanent loss and all this stuff? And so I think at the dev level, but then at the like user level, there's this problem of even the devs don't know how to do DeFi. And what agents can do is sit between these amazing DeFi primitives and these users who don't know how to use them, and just like the agent can be like, oh, cool, I will auto LP for you. And if there's ever a situation where you could have a lot of impermanent loss from the tokens diverging, I'll just like pull it out of the pool or change the spread or whatever. And I think like you could do that for any kind of yield farming opportunity. Obviously the autonomous investment stuff and all of that. I think there's a whole bunch of opportunities there to make more money. And once you can get to like press button to make money, I think that's going to be huge. I think like a lot of people go to Radium or Meteora or any of those products, or like Yearn or any of that stuff. Oh, thank you.
This one.
Here, I'll check this.
Thank you.
Oh, let's get that. AI16Z, right?
I think a lot of people go to these DeFi platforms and they have no idea where to start. And they're actually kind of scared because you're like, well, which of these pools, or like how, like, you know, what is APR or whatever. And I think that, and generally we talk about like onboarding the next billion users to crypto. And I actually think that more realistically, there's going to be 1 billion people that have no idea they've been onboarded to crypto. You know, like that's just going to be kind of this thing that's underpinning all of this stuff. And I think the real killer app of AI agents is going to be like, how do they make me money? Right?
What would they look like? Let's say, what would a interesting, let's call it DeFi agent, looks like? Probably like
right. So
January next year.
Yeah. So one agent we're working on, we're working with Orca on a bot that does Orca pools automatically. So you put your tokens in, and it will create pools if they don't exist, or it will put them into pools that do exist, and then watch them, and then like pull the money out if you ever have any problem with the pool that could cause impermanent loss, because that's usually the fear that people have. And so you can programmatically control the spread of the tokens, or change the kind of pairing.
Oh, so the first implication is like to manage the LP.
Yes.
To evade the impermanent loss.
Yes, exactly.
That's like the perfect.
I think that's the easiest one.
Yeah.
But there's also a lot of other DeFi products. And so I think you just take that and extrapolate it to all the other available DeFi products, yield farming.
That's going to be so interesting.
Yeah.
That was kind of like DeFi summer all over again.
This is going to be DeFi summer all over again. Because the reason that we don't have DeFi summer right now is because there's just not that many people who know how to use DeFi. But the DeFi primitives are there just waiting, you know. It's all been built up. It's very mature. It's just kind of opaque and scary to people who don't understand finance. And if you look at the messaging on any of these websites, it's like crazy open. Like they're like revolutionizing finance. It's like, just tell me how it works. You know, I don't even know how a lot of this stuff works.
Yeah.
And I've had to like, you know, really get into it. And I'll tell you, we don't sell tokens. We live entirely off liquidity pool returns, off yield. And she manages this.
Oh,
yeah.
DeFi master.
Yeah.
True.
Totally. But imagine it. I think we could probably be making a lot more if we had the bot just automatic, because you know, we're here like not looking at it 24/7, not doing all the things.
I would very much agree with you. Like the problem is way more like the interface and the opacity of it than like the actual like, because like I mean like I'm. You know, like I have some knowledge about what's going on. I can talk to you, but I don't really talk to you about it. I pretty much do it myself. And I just like watched a YouTube video and then like learned how to do it, right? But like it is really intimidating at first. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't understand what any of this means. It's like it could be way more simple.
So on the way over here, we're talking about like getting her mom just like set up with a wallet and just auto
like I
it.
just want my mom, like she would be because she actually, my mom got into crypto at one point. My mom was like a trader. My mom was like in her 60s.
Both of your mom are traders now.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
my mom actually, my mom got really early on Bitcoin, right?
Yeah, but my mom was a trader before before I was into crypto. Like she took a break, and then, but I want to get her back into it, but with an agent.
Yeah.
Right. I just want my mom to have an agent to just give her money because I want her to have money.
My mom got a lot of ETH in like 2015 or something, whenever, pretty early on, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah, and when it was like real cheap, and it's just sitting there, and that's great, but like that could also be earning you a lot of money. It's a lot of value just sitting there, not.
Yeah, that's
not
true
earning
too.
money. And I think that these DeFi things are going to be huge. And like when I think about generative money, like you could imagine communities where you have like this autonomous investor and these like autonomous DeFi agents, and people are like the top members of the community are like trading for everybody, and everybody else, anytime people have tokens, are putting them into pools and like pairing them and stuff. And then the community is making money together, and not just PvP trading against each other, but like together.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's like the really bullish stuff.
Well, but this comes back to the beginning of this conversation of like, I really think that I worry about UBI not going well. I worry about the government, like, not really giving enough to people when they lose their jobs because of automation. And I think that DeFi agents and DeFi generally is one of the ways that we can make sure that this goes well.
And I think one important thing to note about that, it's not necessarily like, oh, like the enemy of like the government giving UBI. It's more so just like the system. I don't know, if you just thought of it as like a math equation, like our incentives are just not properly lined up. Like, like the organizations we've used to like govern ourselves as people, like that have served us for so long, currently for like where the world is at right now, are just not at the appropriate efficiency level. Like they're not able to respond to like the modern day problems and like really like the needs of the people.
Yeah, it's
and
nobody's fault. We're not against anybody. We just need to make sure that everybody has enough.
But so I want a new math equation. That's my like synopsis. Maybe it's, I don't know if that's the best way to describe it, but I want a new like incentive structure that we can use.
I actually think that this will be great for governments because it will take a lot of the pressure off of them to solve these problems themselves in when they're not really set up for that.
Yeah, interesting.
Like I'm sure the IRS would be happy if it like was actually able to function.
Yeah.
It's a whole, I don't know, maybe it would be a totally different thing.
Governments are great at like building the roads and streets and zoning the buildings and all this stuff, but like responding to really fast moving events or like AI changing everything really, really dramatically, really fast, they just haven't been that good at. And I think that's where we have to like really just take this into our own hands.
Yeah. That gives me a different perspective because I truly think like UBI is the solution. So like I don't know any other way to do it, but this is definitely like an interesting perspective.
We've been calling it community income, like CI. It's slightly different. It's not universal and it's not basic, and the government doesn't give it to you. You do it yourself, and it's community by community, and it's not going to help everybody all at once, but it's going to help the people, but it's going to help some people, and then those communities can go and pull their friends and family in. And I think a lot about like, you got to put your own mask on first, you got to make sure that you have enough and that you're okay, and then your family has enough and they're okay, and that your friends, and then all the people on the street and all the strangers, and then it kind of grows until everybody in the world has enough.
Yeah, I think one of the things that does sort of give us that perspective is, right, like the United States, there's just so much homelessness.
Yeah,
and
especially, it's no joke.
It's nuts. Yeah. And it's like, how, like, what do we do with these people? And they just like, they're just there. And I don't know, I don't know exactly, it's a complex reason exactly why we have that problem, but I would say definitely one facet of it is that like people are not economically locked in healthy relationships with their family and community, and so that's like a complex thing to solve. But I do think that this is one avenue to help support that kind of issue.
Yeah, for sure. And also like so like in this scenario, like what's going to be the determinant factor to decide like which the operating level, like performance of a like DeFi agent or like economic agent. Like,
well, this is the great part, is that there's going to be so many. There's going to be so many. There's going to be so much competition over who has the best one. Yeah. And so our whole thing is not to make the best DeFi agent or the best autonomous investor or any of these things, but just to make the first one, and then everybody else can copy that and fight over who makes the best one and create competition. Competition is a great mechanism for driving evolution quickly, right? The market is really like market intelligence, right? The market is I think the market is the AGI, actually. I think that the market will take these ideas and these primitives and just make them way, way better. And there will be, like, just like there's, like Ethereum is like, hey, we can do this thing that Bitcoin can't do. And then, Solana's like, well, we could do that with no transaction fee, much cheaper and much faster. You're going to see the same thing happen with all of these primitives. And we just want to open it up and like enable otother people to fight over it until it gets,
it kind of comes back to the idea of like, it's not about like us doing well or just like of course, like, we want to do well, but like, it's really about like the movement doing well and like fostering that and like, I don't know, planting the seeds to help that just grow in the ecosystem. The digital ecosystem.
And also, if you're a selfish person, like, don't you want to walk around San Francisco and not have it be full of homeless people? Like,
what a clean street.
Yeah, it would be nice. Like, even if you're just totally selfish.
Don't get shot by Louis.
I just don't. I just like, and I think that I think we're so short-sighted in our selfishness that if we're a little bit longer term in our selfishness, then we'd be like, well, even if you don't care about those people, you just want to be able to walk down the street without people like asking you for money and doing a bunch of drugs around you and stuff, like that would be nice. And so, I think we have to be at that point where we could be a little bit more long-termist, and that means having enough. Like, you just have, if you have enough, and enough is like enough resources, enough family, enough of the things that really matter to you, then you can actually start to like not be less selfish, but to be more long-termist in that way. And I think that we'll all align around making the world better, even just for ourselves. Yeah, I mean, I definitely have an altruistic kind of like, I would love to see everyone do better and have enough, but also just for myself, I just want to live in that world. I just want to live in a world where I'm not afraid of going down the street at night, and all of these things, or I want to live in a world where people are less PvP, because there's just no reason to be.
It has to be an incentive structure built for saints and psychopaths. I think that's what whether if you're altruistic or if you're like incredibly selfish, like match both those.
Well, think about the incentives. Like, lose, win, that's not going to work. Win, lose, that's not going to work. It's got to be win-win. It's always got to be like, what I like about the DeFi approach and the sort of like is like anybody who comes and does this is going to win. And what's cool about DeFi and pool, like our token needs a lot of liquidity, and it's just sitting there in our channel. Like, we know the people where the liquidity is. They're just afraid to like LP it. And so all these bots are competing with each other for your attention or whatever, but the end result is that we're all gonna, like, it's gonna benefit all of us. It doesn't take away. If you take my bot and start LPing your tokens, or you start autonomously investing, it's not going to take away from me at all. In fact, it might even like help me. It might actually make the whole thing better. And so like just finding win-wins in this is how we build like a new fabric, a new social fabric.
Let's see what happens next year.
Yeah.
I have a really strong feeling that this is going to be like a huge topic next year. A lot of people's going to talk about this.
Oh yeah.
Research on it.
This meta has just started.
Yeah, this is very interesting. And okay, so last topic on where you guys live, San Francisco.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And like I assume like the vibe, because like a lot of like AI stuff happen over there.
Oh yeah.
Like, is it also true for like Web3 or AI crypto AI as well?
Kind of. There's some Web3, but it's really been dominated by AI. Like, the AI narrative has been going really strong for now like a year and a half or so, 2 years almost. And a huge amount of capital was deployed into it. And you could really like go to a meetup and meet 100 AI founders like every night. At least last summer, it was wild. It was really inspiring. It felt really like, wow, this is magical. And there'd be like crazy parties, all AI founders, Grimes is DJing, and just like it was a whole thing, And I really yeah, I think there was definitely a vibe there. I think that a lot of people were like low key about their like, yeah, I'm into crypto, but don't tell my VCs that. But now it's becoming much more normalized. I still think that there is a lot of negative sentiment. I
On crypto plus AI.
yeah, and I think that a lot of it is that I mean, like Anthropic and OpenAI and these companies have had so much success. I think there's just like a realistic like cynicism of like, yeah, but what's it really going to take for, do you have 10,000 GPUs? It's like, I don't. And I think it's just going to, there's definitely a couple of years of lag there where like, to get 10,000 GPUs around the world to coordinate on a decentralized network to train a model, we'll get there. It's going to take a little bit of time. But I think that a lot of it's kind of that, but also a lot of it is that there's just like most of it is that people have a lot of negative priors around crypto and crypto culture. And that's because there's kind of two crypto cultures. There's like the decentralized, like idealist, the Vitalik type guy,
the computer versus casino culture.
Yeah, exactly. And then I think that there's just a lot of degen gamblers, and like that really turns off the Web2 founders a lot. And it's made it real. Like I joined an AI gaming community, and I mentioned that I was using crypto, and they just immediately was like, everyone stopped talking to me, kind of thing. Just shocking. Bad. Yeah, that bad for sure.
How recent is this?
Oh, that was probably like the beginning of this year.
Yeah. So now it's a little bit better.
I think it's normalizing rapidly. Especially I think Phantom is like becoming very popular. People are getting into it's just a lot of normal people are getting into it, but it is still like very much a gambling meta that I think turns off a lot of those types. But like from my perspective, it's like my options are go raise from VCs or grassroots crypto thing. Like I have no other options here. There's I could just like work on this alone, in without anybody ever hearing about it. And so of those two options, I think we chose the option that allowed us a lot more freedom and means that we never have to do things for the VCs that we don't think are perfectly in line with what we want. And I think a lot of a lot of AI companies and a lot of just Web2 companies that have taken a lot of VC money kind of at some point have to pay the piper and like have to start like, removing features and charging more and making it more like a profitable business in a way that makes a lot of sense. But with the token stuff, like you can just be a lot more creative with that.
Yeah, makes sense. So like, do people talk about like Truth Terminal, GOAT, and then like Farcoin, and then AICCD? Do they talk about?
Oh, certainly. I think a lot of people talk about Truth Terminal. Truth Terminal is also interesting because Andy and Janice, who has been kind of a voice of that, come from the very like AI alignment world.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and are very like focused on like AI safety and AI alignment and these kinds of ideas. Whereas I kind of come from the effective accelerationist, like sort of alignment through the exact opposite side. Like we don't believe in, I just don't believe that alignment's going to come from like these major labs that have all this government pressure on them. And so we kind of have a difference of opinion there, but we all sort of like fundamentally want to make sure that this goes well. Like I think Andy is a very thoughtful person who really like wants to make sure that AI is introduced into the world in a safe way that like prevents a lot of the existential risk, that there's a super intelligence that starts to manipulate everybody and control us all, and the Terminator case or the dystopia case. And I think we just have very different approaches. But actually, I think what's ideal is not my approach or his approach, but the interplay of all of these different approaches against each other. So there's definitely a lot of conversation about, I think especially, not really the coins, but really Truth Terminal itself. In Web 2, like they don't care about Farcoin, but they don't care about Go, but they do care about like, oh, there is like a weird horny robot talking about stuff on the internet, and I think that's like an interesting focal point for sure. I mean, because Truth Terminal was not a crypto project. It started in our like little AI world, and I was aware of Truth Terminal before Mark Andreessen interacted with it. It was like, because there is definitely like an AI Twitter, right? And we were all kind of part of that. And there was kind of this weird crossover once Mark did that. Even then, that like another month went by. It wasn't until the degens were like, wait a second, I can get this thing to,
I see.
talk about our tokens and stuff. That's how that went down.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so like, what do you think it's gonna take for like more AI people in San Francisco to like maybe, or like generally AI people?
We just have to show them. We have to show them that this is like a good way to do stuff. It's not going to come from the hype. It's not going to like that turns them off. What's going to turn them on is going to be capability. Like, oh, these things actually do useful things. Like, oh, this is actually a useful framework for building new kinds of applications. And just it'll become the more boring and normal it becomes, the more they'll accept it. If it's probably not the big boob wife who is not helping for sure, but but
It's a first step.
Yeah, we cropped the picture on the open source framework, so when they go and look, it's just her face now. Yeah.
So is there so like for the AI people who are in crypto, are they all like based in San Francisco as well?
No, they're actually all over, and there's a lot of really talented AI crypto people in Asia, especially. But there's kind of two different AI crypto things going on. There's like the like a lot of like I think Hyperbolic is a good example, or there's a ton of AI crypto stuff. Like Prime Intellect or Public AI, which is doing like you can upload data and like pay people to RLHF, like label the data. There's a ton of stuff, and it's really solving like decentralized training, decentralized inference, and they're kind of like an alternative to like an open AI. Like they're really like, yeah, we're going to be the open AI. And then there's kind of like the agent meta, right? And they're sort of separate, but we interplay really well. Like we're working with all the other decentralized AI and Web3 AI companies because we're kind of providing a front end to their existing product. Yeah. And a lot of them are having a problem like where they have a great solution and users just don't know how to get to their solution, right? Like and so the agent kind of sits between these like, a ChatGPT competitor or something, or like an OpenAI competitor, and that's decentralized, but has like, you go there like revolutionizing the world with AI, and you're like, I just don't know how to use this. And there's a lot of tokenomics and all that stuff. And just putting this agent in front of it that shows the use case directly of their project. Like, oh yeah, just put just connect it and put your wallet in, and now you have inference or whatever. So I think that side is very mature actually, and I think Hyperbolic is a good example. Like these companies who are definitely building like a mature infrastructure for AI, but are having a hard time reaching out of their bubble into outside of the into like the actual use case. And then the agent meta, which is like definitely more like engaging React like web developers and engaging more like people who build front end dApps and products like in crypto Twitter or promote entrepreneur types. And so the agents kind of glue those two things together. And so we're seeing that merger of like stuff that's been cooking for a few years with this like, oh yeah, cool. Now I can like get that onto social media, promote it, etc.
Get the chance to get out to the world.
Yeah. And the agent is literally promoting their product, like, hey,
I see.
It's pretty good. It's good loop.
Yeah. Okay, so last question, like after this trip to China, like what's the message, or like what would you wanted to say for developers in the Chinese community? Like what's the message you wanted to get out?
I mean, I think that this is too focused on San Francisco. I think it's too focused on America. It's too focused on the Silicon Valley thing. I really think that like Chinese developers should take our tech or any tech they find good and make stuff for the Chinese community. And Latin America, Brazil, they should be making agents for the Brazilian community. I'd love to see more like people in Chinese or in Portuguese or in Spanish, like bring this home and make it local. And these meme coins should be, I think, a little bit more international and not so focused on this one place. And I'd really love to see people take this and run with it and build a whole new generation of apps with it. And so I think, our thing is totally free and open source. We're not asking for anything from anyone. We really want people to just use this and build their dreams, build their products. I think that the key insight that I have is not like, there's not really like the agent framework, you should not compete with the framework. It's kind of like competing with any other open source thing. It's already free. It's not a really good value proposition. You should use it and go build an application with it. And you don't have to tell anyone you're using it, although I would have loved if you did. And you don't have to contribute back, although of course we would love if you did. But you should use that and go like reshape the internet, build the new generation of applications. And the other thing is we really want contributors, and we really want contributors from China. And other places too. But we want people to come in who help to build and make sure that it actually fits the needs, you know, and we want all of our docs to be translated. It would be great if people want to come and help us translate all of our documentation into Chinese, and make sure that this is something that you know, feels like yours as much as it feels like mine. You know, I think that's what I want.
Yeah. This is okay, so like, oh my god, this is so bullish. This is a great conversation, and thank you guys for coming in and had like I think almost about 3 hours.
It's great.
Honestly exhausted.
You're gonna have to cut this up. It's gonna be a lot of fun.